This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. Joined today by world-famous Texan Jesse Griffiths, author of the very creatively titled The Hog Book and the Turkey Book. Just comes right out and tells you what the book is.
Yeah, pretty clear.
You don't need to look at that book and wonder what those books are about.
No. By design.
Yeah. I've accused him of being a wild hog apologist. Jesse Griffiths knows how to make phenomenal stuff out of wild hogs of all varieties. And the Hog Book tells you all about how to do that.
Top to bottom.
Anyone that tells you, oh, you can't eat them and you can only eat them when they're this age or eat them at that age or eat them when they're
120 pounds.
120 pounds or pregnant or not pregnant, or if you ever want to know like what is actually up about wild hogs, from a guy who has handled more, this is a bold statement, but I'm going to stick by it.
We can vet it. I'll be honest.
A guy that has handled and served more wild hog meat than anybody on the planet.
I mean, I don't know. It'd be hard to quantify, but an awful lot.
How about a lot?
A lot. Hundreds, if not thousands. Butchered a lot. Seen a lot of them dead.
Served a lot of them.
Served a lot of them.
Eaten a pile of them.
Yep.
No, the Hog Book is it's no guesswork. It's no rumor.
Right.
It's just like what you know to be true from a career of working in them.
Yeah, it's like answers to questions. And people would, over the years be like, what, can you eat them if they're 120 pounds and over? Can you eat a boar? Can you eat them a sow if it's not pregnant? Can you eat a sow if it is pregnant? What's your favorite recipe? Name it. And, just kind of a compilation of answers to questions that I got.
And then followed that up with the Turkey Book, which tells you everything you'd ever want to know about preparing turkeys, preparing every part of every turkey.
Yep, definitely. That one was more of a kind of dress for the job you want deal. Really wanted to just spend a whole spring turkey hunting, so we documented it and then did a bunch of recipes.
Good deal.
Those are both available at themeateater.com.
Correct.
And then Jesse's been on the show a few times before. He recently got a Michelin star for Dai Due.
Yeah, but to be clear, a Michelin Green Star.
Well, I don't know, but I'm saving that.
Oh, sorry. I ruined it. Can you, Phil, backtrack us a little bit? I just ruined it.
I was toying with reading this Mercer Lawing's Dai Due review. I'm just going to read the first line.
Let's do it.
My quail plate was very good. Fantastic, actually.
How many stars?
What about more of the details?
This is nerve-wracking.
Come on,
I don't want to do it. I don't want
the butt.
What's
Wait,
next?
Mercer Long was what episode number guest?
I don't want to do it.
I gotta know. It's
The aoudad meatballs, very good.
Ooh.
okay.
Ooh.
Building up a little more. This is gonna hurt. All right.
The Nil guy, steak, he would have preferred the chimichurri on the side.
Oh, come
He sounds like my kids.
And that Mercer Long was on episode 407, California's War
Would
on
have been a
Woodsman.
great dish if they had just put it on the side.
Can we pause for a second? How does this make you feel right now?
Across
completely
the board, very bold flavors. Never had a meal quite like it.
There you go.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
There's a little more in there. I'll
Ooh.
share with you later.
Oh, we'll just kind of like a little ease it in there. Yeah. All right.
Dude, it's my favorite. It's like, honest to God, man, Dai Due is my favorite restaurant.
Oh, that's super kind of you. Thank you.
And another thing I like about it, we've talked about this when you were on the show before. Like something that most restaurants would be like, it'd be like in glowing neon signs and shit outside. But like at the bottom of Jesse's, I don't know if he changed it. At the bottom of Jesse's menu, it says everything is from around here.
From the author of the turkey book, right?
Just in little letters at the bottom of the menu, everything is from around here.
Yeah.
Meaning it's like all local stuff.
Yeah.
It's like all Texas. You know?
We call that an economy of dialogue.
Everything is from around here.
It's not sandwiched into the description of each dish.
No, we don't put farms in there. It's just
everything is
assume
from,
that everything is from
around here.
Do you still have that slogan? Because I'm wearing the original shirt. It says, "Eat a hog, save the world."
Yeah,
Is that still there?
that's more hashtag, feral hog apologist propaganda.
So we're going to talk Jesse a bunch about food, cooking food.
Well, I want to know real quick how many Michelin Star restaurants or Michelin Green Star restaurants serve things with like a ramekin of something on the side.
None of them.
You need to put that chimichurri in a squirt bottle and just set it in the ketchup rack.
Maybe we could get it in a little packet that you could open. And
Plastic bag.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is a Green Star?
That's what the whole show's about, man.
we're gonna build up to that.
I didn't read the notes.
No, it
today,
doesn't say that in the notes. It just lives in my head.
It
Now
does.
it's
I put it in the
now we're going
notes.
to turn the heat to Yanni. After all that praise, now we're going to criticize Yanni up and down.
You're on a little tear this morning.
Well, I gotta set the
Surprises. I should have read the notes.
Well, Yanni killed a sailfish just so he
look at
could get
this.
cool pictures
Illegal
of it.
to remove sailfish from the water in the U.S.
So I'll tell the story. Yanni went to like a little party
A party.
in Guatemala. Yeah, it wasn't like a 50th birthday party.
Oh, well, we went on a fishing trip to celebrate my brother-in-law's 50th birthday. We didn't do much partying.
Okay, Yanni went on a birthday fishing trip. While at this birthday fishing trip, he committed a terrible sin, which I didn't know about.
I'd like to point out
He
too
picked
that
his
I did
sailfish.
it. That I did it. The captain and the mates were like, "We don't really do this," but I'm like, "I really need the grip and grin, for the
Yep.
gram."
Caught a sailfish for no reason. Then,
For no,
just to screw with it, or as Mitch Hedberg said, to make it late for something, and lifts it out of the water and takes a picture. Then, Brendan Rund, I can't remember, was it Rundy or Rund? He was on the show.
I think it's Rundy.
Yeah, I
Rundy
think
from the
it's-
Nature Conservancy, who was on episode 538 discussing a subject that now seems so incredibly dated, which was, does wildlife win or lose with renewable energy? And he wrote in and saw Yanni's Instagram post. And he, like many people do when they have a problem with something, reached out to Corinne. In the U.S., I didn't know this, it is now illegal to remove billfish from the water unless you're keeping them. They did a satellite tagging study on white marlin. If you leave a white marlin in the water when you catch it, the mortality rate, now don't do that crap where you say a number that's going to make it, Phil knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys you can see it. I can't do take a guess. Oh, Jesse, take a guess. And try to work with me here. Don't make it look bad. If you catch a white marlin and leave it in the water, catch and release fishing, you leave it in the water and release it, what do you think the odds are he'll die?
1 in 10.
Good job.
Phew.
No, it's only 1.7. It's only 1.7 percent.
wow.
10%.
Right? So you were off by a what do you call that? Exponential? No. Factor of 10. Off by a decimal point. Is that right? Or wrong?
I'm not sure.
Ish. About 1.7%.
I'm not a math
to
guy.
10%.
He thought
This is
10 and
guess.
100.
You're
It's
making
actually-
this too complicated.
He thought 10 and 100 die.
And thought that was a good.
And thought that was good, but it's only 1.5 in 100 die if you leave them in the water. If you act like Yanni, guess what the odds he'll die is?
Am I taking another guess?
To try to, make it be that it'll work in my favor.
4 out of 10.
Ha! No. 33%. So close.
Yeah.
But even higher. Yeah.
So Yanni now has this lay in bed at night wondering that
But Yanni, you can
One
think
out of three.
You can flip it around and say, chances are he swam away and he's just fine.
you know
yeah.
you know what's here's what the odds are. It's like in paper scissors rock. There's a 1 in 3, right?
Paper, scissors, rock.
So here's Yanni.
I guess
Yeah.
Steve. Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. So I'm saying if you're throwing,
Michigan.
right, every time if you're throwing it, you got a 3 choice.
Yeah.
Every time you throw, let's say, a scissor, that means Yanni killed a sailfish. So rock, nope. Paper, nope. Scissor, yep. Scissor, yep. Rock, nope.
Unless you like scissors a lot and you throw it more often,
Then you kill
then
more
you
sailfish.
kill more sailfish.
Do you feel bad about this, Janis? Am I
No,
making you feel bad?
It was an honest mistake. You know, had I known this prior to, then like I said, the mates and the captain, they don't do this. They have like a GoPro on a stick, so you just get them next to the boat, and the GoPro shoots from way out in the water back towards the boat.
Wasn't good enough for you.
So out of the other 40-some fish that we caught, that's the way we took pictures of the few that we took pictures of. Most of the time, they don't even touch the fish. They have a pole with a little it's like, I don't know what, it's like a paper
Curlicue.
cutter.
Oh.
Really? Basically on the end, huh?
Disgorger? No, what's
Not
called?
a curlicue.
No.
No, they're cutting
It's
it.
literally a paper cutter, and it's just taped to the end of this pole, and they go down the leader and just cut the line right above the hook, and just don't even touch the hook, and just let the hook rust out. They catch so many of those sailfish down there because we caught 40 in 3 days. It's nothing for them to catch 40 in a day. And they'll catch them with other hooks in the corner of their mouth, just like you would see a trout. You know, you can see it's been hooked and caught before.
So they do it by they're trolling. Explain the process of catching the sailfish.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's more in depth. It's more in depth and more sort of involved for the anglers than a lot of the trolling type fishing I've done in the past, where a lot of times you're just in a boat, the mates set up the rods, the baits are in there, you're trolling, the captain's running the boat, the fish bites a bait. It's pretty much on. A mate grabs the rod, makes sure it's hooked, and then he hands it over to the angler, and you basically reel. You know, that's like your job. They don't take the boat out of gear to make it extra hard for you because you got to fight like the current and the fish fighting. But here with these sailfish, out of, I don't know, the 10 lines that are in the water, there's actually only 4 hooks in there. Everything else is just a teaser, meaning it's just a decoy, right? And so if you imagine these fish are hanging at the thermocline, which is roughly 80 feet. That's what it was when we were there. That's where they're hanging, and they're looking up to where to find their food as they're cruising around. The boat comes over the top. There's all the prop wash and whatever. And then in that prop wash, behind the prop wash, there's like a whole, school of baitfish swimming is what it looks like. Yeah. And there's all the smoke that's coming off of them. They call it smoke. It's the smaller wash coming off of these teasers, right? So they look up and they go, oh my God, that's what I've been looking for, and whoosh, they swim up the 80 feet. And so when you're in the boat, you're sitting there and you're just watching all the teasers, and then all of a sudden behind one teaser, or some of the teasers are like a group of baits, you see the bill all of a sudden just above the water, swatting back and forth, right? Because that's how they kill a flying fish, or I don't know if it's sardines, whatever else they eat, but they whack them, stuns them, they turn and eat them, right? So at that point, the captain usually, because he's up top in the bridge, so he has a better angle to see it all.
Yeah.
So they give you a really good job of explaining how it's all going to go down, and like what, most importantly, what right and what left is. Because just as like when you're guiding fly fishermen and you tell them to cast to the right, they cast to the left, and then you say, "No, Jesse, the other right." So the same thing happens here, because he goes, "Right long teaser." And like one of the anglers goes and grabs a rod on the left side of the boat, and he's like, "No, the other right."
It's like stage left and
dumbass.
stage right, where everybody gets confused.
Yeah, we had real problems with that.
So as soon as, like, as an angler, your job is to grab one of the baited rods, hopefully the rod where the bait is the closest to said teaser. So if it's the right long, you grab the rod that's got the bait in the right long position. You take it out of the downrigger clip. As soon as you have it in your hands, you take it out of, you put it to free spool, put your thumb on the spool, and you're holding it. And at that point, the mates are reeling all the teasers in, right? So the sailfish is in there amongst all these teasers. He's trying to swat and kill something to eat. And all of a sudden, they all disappear. And then the captain's like, hey, you're 10 feet behind him. Reel up. So you flip it in gear, reel up like 10 feet, and he goes, stop. You go back to free spool, and you're holding it. And he's like, wait, he's right behind it. And so the sailfish looks up and goes, oh, hey,
I got one.
There's the one. Whammo, and he eats it, and you feel like a slight tug on that rod. Is at that point, you take your thumb on that, lighten up on your drag, and let him eat it, and basically count to 4. This is the fun part. I already told you this.
Count to cuatro.
Count to cuatro. Yeah, you can do it in Spanish if you want. And then at that point, you flip your drag, engage your drag. He's on. You fight the fish. If you're going to do it on the fly, which is very popular down here, there's basically one extra step. There, you have no baits in the water at all. It's all just teasers. There's no hooks, right? So there's like a dozen teasers just going behind the boat.
Yeah.
Once the fish comes in behind it, you grab your fly rod. You have about 10 or 15 feet of line in the water. It's like dragging behind the boat. So your rod
It's already dragging there.
You dump it in.
You get it ready.
So you're loading your rod by that drag behind the boat. Again, all the mates reel up all the teasers. They bring him in. The fish is still there like, whoa, what's up? But they bring him in close because he's following those teasers in. So if you jumped off the stern, you could land on top of the sailfish. I mean, that's how close he is.
So you don't cast at him?
No, you do. So
Okay.
You're holding it on one side. You've loaded your rod. And depending on if that sailfish comes in on the right or the left, you're going to make one back cast and then shoot your line. They actually want you to cast behind him. So when the fish is like, oh, where'd everything go? And then all of a sudden you start stripping and that bait, comes right by me. He goes, there he is.
And is the captain still on the throttle?
No. So to make it like legally caught by a fly rod, he can't be in gear.
Because you can't be trolling.
Because otherwise, exactly, you're just trolling that fly. So basically, before you cast, he comes out of gear. You make one cast. What was hard for me to remember was that if it was the left side of the boat, you had to cast and then run over to the left corner because you didn't want to strip your fly into the prop wash because the fish loses sight of it because it's so white in there.
Got it.
And so you want to move over to the left side to keep your fly out in the clear water. But I don't know. I tugged it once or twice. He ate it, and then you freeze just like you would when he eats the bait, right? And basically, he takes all the slack out of your hands. It comes tight, and then if you still have it, mentally in you to remember, oh, he turned left, then you would sweep the rod to the right, or vice versa. To make sure you get that hook set, because even the fly is circle hooks, right? So they really want to make sure you can't set the hook. My brother-in-law missed quite a few fish because
couldn't overcome the instinct to
set the hook. Yeah. Everybody loves setting the hook,
Does it put up a good tussle on a fly rod?
Yeah, honestly, the tackle we were using even for the bait rods was pretty light. So both of them were pretty good. But what you learn pretty quickly is that as soon as he's on, or she, they're going on a mad dash run. Amazing jumpers. And actually, I found out that the less pressure you apply with the tackle, the more they stay towards the surface and the more jumping you get. If you hook them on super heavy duty stuff and just bear down on them, which you could, these fish don't really go over 100 pounds much, then they'll sort of sound on you and not really jump. So they actually keep the tackle a little bit lighter to keep them near the surface so you get the exciting jumps. And I mean, we had multiple fish that jumped excess of 20 times probably.
Wow.
What is the reputation of a sailfish for food quality? I gather not good.
No, I think it is good.
Yeah,
I think it's just fine to eat. Yeah, but they're really trying to protect the resource there. What happens there a lot, even though it's completely illegal, even in these Guatemalan waters, is we were fishing probably 30 miles off, but these pods of fish, and they don't really know exactly the numbers, but it must be thousands. Because, I mean, there's a decent-sized fleet there that might be catching, 30, 40 fish a day per boat. But these pods of sailfish will move in closer to shore. And once they get into that like 3-4 mile mark, the gill netters come out and hammer the shit out of them.
Oh.
And so the fleet will be catching them at 3 miles for multiple days, but the word gets out, and then all of a sudden one night of gill netting, and the fleet goes out, and they're like, hey, where's all the fish? Well, they went home.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Istiophorus, which is a great family name. Istiophoridae for the sailfish. But super fast growing species. Can hit 5 feet in its first year.
Really?
Yeah. So, but like Janis said, not super heavy. So they are considered overfished by and large. But it sounds like they're real fast growing. So like the ability to rebound the population would be real good.
Did you guys catch any tuna, Yanni?
Nope. That was definitely sort of it would have been a plus. Like it was a possibility, tuna and Dorado, but we saw neither of those, as well as marlin. We did raise one marlin, meaning same thing. He came up off the thermocline and came into the teasers. But when I was up in the bridge, happened to be up there, and I got to see him. And it literally looked like he came up there and then was like swimming alongside the teasers, like, "Hey guys!" He wasn't in there like, "I'm gonna mess you up." He was in there for maybe 30 seconds and then just disappeared.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it was all sailfish. But yeah, one of the highlights, the fishing was great, but man, you just forget how good local food is. Like, I haven't been to that many tropical places to eat pineapples where they, grow on trees. And it's just like, it's nothing like a pineapple from you eat in the United States. Same thing with the mangoes, the avocados, what else? Papayas that we ate. And what they do a lot down there when we were talking about this is they season their fruit a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of salt on the fruit, and then that thing called
tahini.
Yeah, tahini.
My wife's been making that.
Yeah, you were saying. But so great food, just very fresh. Everything down there is very kind of light and fresh. Didn't eat a lot of heavy stuff. So yeah, super fun trip. The Blue Bayou sail fishing lodge, if you're interested.
Oh, they're like dedicated to sail fishing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer's my wife's cousin, Rob Orr, is one of the captains at the Blue Bayou Sail Fishing Lodge. So you can go fish with Rob if you want.
He's going to show your picture off, and he's like, I
told
pretty
him,
much guarantee you can't catch this one again, but
there's a 1 in 3. He's unavailable. That's great, man. I've never even laid eyes on a sailfish alive.
I only laid eyes on one other one that we caught out of Ocracoke, North Carolina, once with Rob Orr too. But I haven't seen many of them.
Well, who we're working on coming on is some University of Wyoming Clovis experts.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what titillated me about it. What got me excited is we were down at University of Wyoming meeting with the archaeologists down there, looking at some collections, and these guys are very esteemed archaeologists, and they are still firm believers. Clovis first. Clovis were the first Americans, and they are big believers in the Blitzkrieg hypothesis.
Overkill.
They're big believers in the overkill hypothesis with mammoths. Meaning, we always have Meltzer on.
Do we need to stage a debate?
Well, Meltzer likes him.
Okay.
It's collegial.
Well, that's
It's
what I mean.
collegial.
but Steve will do his absolute best to create some sort of rivalry there.
He set it up. I know you guys have. They're respectful. They're respectful colleagues who, I gather, who just disagree on a couple things.
Love it.
World could use more of that.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely,
he's coming on, and we're working on getting him on, and they're gonna come on and lay out the case. And it's good. I don't want to do my own version that's not that good. They're gonna lay out the case that Clovis first.
Yeah. We got to
Mammoth hunters.
We got to see a mammoth skull that's being pieced back together. We got to see some giant mammoth tusks that you keep like lowering down to look further back on the shelf because they just keep going, like just giant tusks. And Steve got to live out one of his wildest fantasies and see someone doing archaeological drawings in person, like a guy looking at a Clovis point, and
which is my favorite art,
sketching it in fine detail.
He's gonna hook. I'm gonna get an original from him, and I'm gonna frame it and put it in the studio here.
That's cool.
What else happened down there? Oh, I walk into this office and there's this giant bone laying there. And I said, "Damn, what's that off?" He said, "That's a rock." And I said, "I thought it was a dinosaur bone." He said, "So's the guy that brought it here." He said, "You can have it if you want it."
So it's totally
the guy brought it and didn't even take it home with him. Dude, it looks like
the head of a big.
It looks like a chunk of a femur and the end of the femur.
Yeah,
like 100%.
Okay.
100%.
You guys should have brought that back.
I don't know why. It was
We'd like-
very
Well,
heavy.
our bags are already
centerpiece
getting
and-
heavier because we got some beautiful books from them too.
Speaking of bags,
Oh, yeah. Well, let me do one more thing, then I'm going to talk about that bag.
It would not have fit in that bag. It was a big rock.
I'm going to talk about that bag, but I want to do one more thing. Because Randall, I've been spending a lot of time with Randall driving around, and Randall's been telling me about just the world I wasn't aware of that he's involved in.
What's that?
Estate sales.
Oh, yeah.
Randall waits for old men to die.
Well, they're dying anyway.
I didn't really know this either.
No, Randall
this is
waits. I think that I was telling Randall if he wants to get serious about this, that he would start finding garages that had a lot of interesting stuff, and then check on the well-being of the man.
Tell us some depressing stories.
Yeah. Be like, well, how is Bob feeling? You know?
Yeah.
Couldn't help but notice the garage.
Well, when you drive, past
cookies,
like a
bring 'em
ranch
over,
and you
befriend
see
them.
it's just there's shit everywhere, and you're like, man, how does a guy get all that stuff? It's by buying that stuff when that guy leaves this earth.
So Randall goes on estate sales, and when he was looking, I was watching him. He was showing me an estate sale, and he was looking at things that would, because I have like bad organizational problems. Like I like things real organized, and you can buy buckets of assorted sockets.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like when you like went and bought like a bucket of assorted files.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I have one of those.
But Randall is like an active estate. He like him and his friends look at estate sales.
Didn't know this.
Great tools, all kinds of tools. I mean, I'm a Craigslist guy too. I'm an eBay guy to some extent.
We should.
But you remember there was this amazing one in Livingston recently, and the guy had just an unbelievable collection of taxidermy.
Yep.
Like multiple full body bear mounts and buffalo mounts, like shoulder mounts. I think I probably sent you a dozen things from that. That all got. I'm a bargain
real
hunter.
collectors caught wind of that.
Yeah, the real collectors caught wind of that. But yeah, this guy in Livingston had an unbelievable taxidermy
Oh, so
collection.
those things actually brought some money? Because I thought after we had our podcast with Hayes, he explained that those things really didn't have much value.
Oh, I got priced out of the. I mean,
well, you got to know your
my
market
budget is
right.
I think I had Sydney was all in on a couple of them, up to like $500-600.
What mounts did you want to have of someone else's?
I don't know. It was just they were like full body goat. There were multiple full body goats. There were like crazy rams.
At the right price, I don't know. Find somewhere to put it.
They're amazing antelope, like dozens and dozens of antelope in this collection. Yeah.
And how much were you willing to spend?
Like a couple $100. Not enough. But
the estate sale he was showing me was rock bottom prices.
Yeah, but there's still like 9 days left on it.
Yeah. And the way he worked it is they got a buddy. He's got a buddy in a certain town. An estate sale comes up in that town. The buddy's like, hey, let me know and I'll go pick up what you need. And so then you're kind of preying on these families, you know?
No.
You're preying on these families in a time of grief and need.
No, I don't think you're preying on them at all.
No.
They want to sell it.
It's making life easy. Like
I mean, honestly, like
when my uncle rancher was passing away, his truck doors were, because you're always like driving around fixing stuff, and then you're ending up with things that you're not going to leave out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So he would throw them in his truck all the big organizational slots in the truck doors.
Yeah, which Dirt uses for his shampoo and toothpaste and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep. Well, so
It's his medicine cabinet.
I have corn dog sticks in there. Those little
Jeff's were full to the top with like nuts and bolts, and I mean more packed than like a hardware store shelf, right? Full to the top with nuts and bolts and sockets and stuff like that. And what we ended up doing, because his shop was kind of like that too, so instead of doing like the estate sale route of like, who wants to bid on this coffee can, this Folgers coffee can from 1970 full of assorted drivers and stuff, we just called Pacific Steel the recycler, right?
Oh.
And had a dumpster delivered and then filled it full of all that stuff as recycling instead of taking the time to go through and sort it all.
Got it.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
hopefully Doug Duran's listening.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Randall wasn't calling him ahead of time and being like, "Yeah, you're getting old. I bet all your friends are dead, huh? That's got to be depressing." Anyway,
I also think like
have.
Craigslist, when you see somebody who's like they're like a tradesman and they're getting out of the business, you know, you bought like storage units full of ladders and stuff like that.
Yeah. Tell the story you told me, the totally depressing story you told me about an estate sale. The death?
I think we could tell this one.
You had to wrench something out of some grieving widow's hands.
No, this is actually
be like I
mean, it could have happened.
It
could have happened anywhere, but yeah, my buddy, I believe it was his grandfather. When he passed, they had an estate sale at the house, and they're upstairs, and they hear a gunshot in the basement, and a guy had gone to use the bathroom and had a handgun in his belt, went off and killed him in the middle of the estate sale. So it's sort of a dark story.
Yeah,
it's not even really related to estate sales.
Yeah, I know. It could have happened.
Misleading.
It could have
He
happened
wasn't
anywhere.
trying to steal the.
No. He brought it with him.
Is there some
But
like
it made this whole experience like especially traumatic.
old estate
terrible.
sale law that's like, well, if you die at an estate sale during the estate sale, you become part of the estate, like,
sale.
Can be
I
like,
don't know why I wanted him to tell that.
Terrible.
I don't know. It's just kind of really kind of ruined the show. But as he was
like a
telling
cool
me it,
sound
I
bite
thought
on
it was
that
going to
part,
be. I had him tell it because I made the same mistake I made when he started telling it. I thought it was going to be someone fiddling with a gun for sale at an estate sale.
Well,
and then he gets done with the story, and I realize there's nothing to do with estate sales. And here he is telling it the damn podcast.
Yeah, who asked him to do that?
Of my own volition. I mean, I will say, like, estate sales, if you want to find a bunch of old, like, reloading presses and stuff like that, like, I missed the golden ages of just stocking up on brass and all these components. And, you know, reloading, hand loading's gotten a lot more expensive. So there's a lot of guys with just closets full of this stuff.
yeah, it's basically planning on your own estate sale down the line.
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
Got to stock up.
Yeah. All you kids that are 15 to 25 years old right now, make a note that in 2072-ish, you're going to want to call up Randall's wife. See how Randall's is doing.
2072, that... I think I'm getting there,
You're not going to get that far?
No.
I didn't want to say you're going to die young.
That would make me 2072. That'd make me like 80 something, right?
Someone asked me what I'm holding in my hand.
Yeah, what is
good
that?
Lord, what is that?
What is that, Steve?
The FHF EDC packs are out. All American made backpack. Made out of they call it challenge sailcloth. Waterproof. Paul's been making these, and I've been getting to wear all the different ones he's come out with. He's got all kinds of inserts for them. They're sweet.
What's your big finding on the finished product here?
Love it.
What for?
What's in the pack?
No,
Where are all
this
the
is my
sleeves and
this
the
is my
things
travel
and-
bag. This is literally my EDC bag. So I keep my laptop and everything in here. I got it all figured out. Cords. I keep my cords here.
Oh, it is a good spot.
Keep my spectacles and my shades in this side pouch. You really need to know all this?
Yeah.
Up here, I keep
It's durable.
Up here, I
You
keep
can,
pens
like,
and whatnot. That's where I keep
stick
that
a
stuff.
holster in there.
He's got to insert so you can put your pistols and whatnot in there. I keep my laptop in here. Well, it's actually right here right now. And I got one of these document bags.
When it's super full of stuff, is it comfortable to like hustle through the airport with?
Yeah, dude, I love it.
I will say we've
And
been
it's like the kind of thing that you can kick. Like I just cram it under my seat in front of me on the airplane.
you don't have to
'Cause
worry
nothing's
about
gonna
busting
happen
a
to it.
seam.
No,
We've
it's ergonomic. It's a sweet pack.
You
And
can
it's
attach
ergo.
stuff to the outside.
ergonomic,
What's
not
that
ergo,
system
like
called?
therefore economic.
It's got a Molly panel on the
Yeah,
back, so you
small,
can
that's
add
what
another
it is,
little
yep.
pouch if
I
you
put
want.
pouches on there now and then, but in the end, I went for just the total streamline thing because you can just kind of move around like a greased
High
hog.
speed.
Yeah, it's just like you feel like a greased hog wearing this thing.
We've been traveling a
I love
lot,
this pack.
and you haven't had to look for things. You haven't been losing things in our travels.
No, because I got my system
Yeah.
totally dialed in, and like I said, man, it's hard to find a completely like I said, U.S. made. I love it.
The challenge sail material that's like actual
You can't mess it up.
sail like
No, it's just a thing they call.
Okay.
It's a thing they call it, but you can't mess it up.
Yeah.
You can't mess it up. At least I haven't been able to.
I mean,
And
you
it's-
probably could sail with it. Yes.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sail through
in
the
a,
airport.
in a real.
And that's available at the FHF.
No, they're sweet
MeatEater store
backpacks. Yeah,
online.
and I'm kind of like a little finicky about backpacks.
What?
Yeah,
You?
it's one of the areas where I get a little finicky about stuff.
Like it needs
One
to
of
be
the
like-
areas.
There's a handful of areas that I'm very finicky. Duffel bags, backpacks. That I have big opinions about those things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very rarely where I'm like, Steve would have no opinion on this.
There's certain. I was telling Randall though. There's certain things where I had to walk away. Like I vowed to. I will not. I no longer will argue with anybody about anything to do with calibers.
Hmm.
Don't do it.
Or
I
gear.
quit. For a while, I quit arguing about gear. I just one day I was like, I'm
You're
done
dipping
arguing.
your toe back in.
Yeah, yeah.
He found a new group of crew members that are more, their mindset is more akin to his mindset about gear, and so the arguing is more favorable.
Oh,
for
echo
him.
chamber.
Yanni once observed that. Yanni observed one time that he's like, Steve always has a different headlamp, but somehow he always has the best headlamp. It's just because he has it, it must therefore be the best. All right, Jesse, what the hell is a green Michelin star, man? What's a Michelin star?
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
And what's a Michelin tire?
Yeah, so the Michelin company, who owned vast rubber plantations in Southeast Asia.
Did they?
Oh yeah, and they made tires, and so they started making a travel guide many years ago, and they would rate restaurants mostly in France, and to get 1, 2, or 3 Michelin stars was a very big deal, and it had
To encourage people to drive around and wear out
their tires.
Yes, exactly. And so you could get 1, 2, or 3 stars, and it was for a very long time. It was based on you had to have very fine cutlery, service standards, glassware, consistency. It had to be like for 3 Michelin stars was unattainable. It's like very few restaurants in the world had them. 1 star, incredible honor right there. And a few years back, they started kind of changing it up. Like where a Michelin star could maybe just mean it was just an exemplary restaurant. And then famously, I think 2 or 3 years ago, they gave a taqueria in Mexico City a Michelin star, just a place on the street. Like no servers, no nothing. It was just just these very simple tacos, and they got a Michelin star, and that kind of shifted that whole kind of narrative as far as what it meant to
That
get.
was probably a little bit
star.
of a rebranding for the Michelin
Yeah.
brand themselves.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
Just
and,
move away from white tablecloths and
Right.
French high cuisine. And,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it was just like a little confusing though, because you still have restaurants shooting for 3 stars, but I think they still save the 3 stars for that white tablecloth experience. And then a couple years ago, they came out with the Green Star, which is what we got, which is a sustainability star, and it's all about sourcing, direct purchasing, ethical processes, even like employee programs, things like that. And so due to the way that we source almost everything, I guess we were considered for it. You don't get nominated, you don't put in for it or anything. An inspector comes along.
You don't know who they are, right?
No.
The food's still probably got to be pretty good, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could be making hot dogs off roadkill deer. That doesn't mean,
Yeah.
Doesn't
that
mean you're gonna get a
is a
star.
component of it that
Yeah.
they list as one of the tenets of it. And we also got a bib gourmand, which means you make the guide. We didn't get a Michelin star, but we made the bib gourmand, which means we're a recommended Michelin restaurant, and then also a green star. And at last count, I think there was about 32 restaurants in the United States with green stars.
Wow.
I've seen some headlines recently. I want to dive into just a little bit about Michelin stars and what it means for restaurants. I would think it's like all positive, right? But I feel like I keep seeing headlines. There should be a word for when you just read a headline. Like, I used to say I was reading a thing,
Yeah.
but then now it's like, in all honesty, I didn't.
I don't want a follow-up question about this.
I've seen like headlines alluding to the idea that it's not all like that there's negatives to a Michelin star for a restaurant.
Sure.
But how? Like what?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, and with regards to all the restaurants that they got Michelin stars, and in Austin, I want to say 3 or 4 of them were barbecue places that got the star.
Okay.
I feel that it's a wonderful thing for them. Personally, having been in the industry for so long and having kind of this maybe antiquated idea of what a Michelin star meant, really didn't want one. In the way that, like, I never felt like our restaurant was in the classic sense, a Michelin starred restaurant. And also you will start to have to deal with a good deal of scrutiny. And these days that scrutiny can be, is pretty mean. Sometimes you wonder if it's worth it. And you will see stories.
I mean, because if you're on top, people just try to knock you off the top, or
right. I mean, the irony of stuff like that is like, well, we don't think you deserve a Michelin star, and then you have to be like, well, we didn't ask for it.
Yes.
Like somebody else said that, or if you get like a top 10 restaurants or something like that, be like, yeah, well, you don't deserve that. It's like, well, we also didn't make that call. Somebody else said that. And now you're kind of coming at us. I mean, maybe I'm too sensitive to be a restaurant owner. Maybe it's probably not even the right word for it. But there is a good deal of scrutiny.
There's probably some turnover that like employee turnover that could come with it too, because like, oh my gosh, I just got a Michigan star at the restaurant that I work with.
Michigan star.
It's a very different system.
That's our system coming forward. We should do that for every time we're on the road.
Yeah,
Is it related to the Michigan Hello?
Michelin.
Michigan star.
it's like a Michigan hello.
That's the symbol.
1.5.
Just that.
You got 2 of them.
But right, like you could have some employees be like, "Oh, holy shit, this is a great thing for the resume."
Yeah, maybe hop around a little bit
Right.
more. Just that's kind of punch that card a little bit. Oh, I worked at a Michelin starred restaurant. Sure, definitely could happen. I think that in our case, this Green Star. When I knew that we were in a contender for that from the questions that they started to ask me. Like we were getting these emails, and I was like, "Talk about your sourcing practices." And I was
Who
like,
sends you the emails?
Michelin.
Oh,
So when
that's
you're
a dead giveaway. Huh?
Yeah, we knew it. Then I was very, very happy because I think that if I had to pick one of those 2 things, I would absolutely take the Green Star, because that is the goal that we've worked to since day one. Was just like having really equitable, fair, good food purchased from our neighbors, like high quality, local stuff, and just really sticking to those guns. Wine, beer, everything. So the Green Star was really the one that I thought was like, yeah, that is a recognition that we will definitely take.
What happens when someone? I don't want to harp on the negative, but why do you hear stories of people? Aren't there stories of people turning them in?
Yes, Marco Pierre White, very famous chef.
Not the Green Star.
Not the Green Star.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll get mad. This is probably the old days, back in France.
So he was like a white tablecloth guy.
Certainly.
Oh,
He famously made Gordon Ramsay cry.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like he
About what?
about not being a good cook. Marco
Oh.
Pierre White is like the
Well, that's sort of, I mean, what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah, well, Gordon Ramsay was very young at the time.
Yeah.
This kind of speaks to this whole thing. You know, like these guys are the ones that are working 120 hours a week, just like excellence, just the screaming, the throwing of the pans, just the kind of nightmarish old kitchen situation that we think of.
Got it.
And then, you know, if they go from like 3 stars to 2 stars, then maybe they just take those 2 stars and throw them back at Michelin or something. I'm making that story up, but you know, it would be a spite kind of deal. And stars were, I mean, in some circles probably still are highly, highly sought after.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, a life goal is, you know, they want 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, you know, but you know, we're not really playing that game.
Yeah, well, how I became aware of it is, my wife and I were eating dinner with Jesse in Dai Due, and I said, "Well, how's business been?" And he said, "It's been great because of the Green Michelin Star."
Yeah. I mean, definitely. We saw a huge influx of people from that.
So people cared about it.
Yeah. Well, Austin or Texas, you have to submit to Michelin to be inspected, and you have to give them a whole bunch of money, like millions and millions of dollars to come in and do the inspections. And once they do that, they come in and they inspected Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. And then from there, they're going to start making, for the first time ever, because no restaurant in Texas ever had a star. And they came in, and the guide came to Texas. And so you'll have, I think it's, you know, some sort of Texas hospitality or
state tourism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like kind of, yes, please come do this thing. And so, and then it brought in, they brought in the inspectors, and then a bunch of restaurants in Texas were granted stars, a couple, I think just 2 green stars in Texas. And then a bunch of stars for restaurants in San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas. And it really boosted all of that. I mean, it was huge in the restaurant business. It was talk of the town for a little while.
Mm-hmm. You know what you said to us when we were eating dinner that I still don't fully understand? You mentioned feeling weird, or I can't remember how you put it, feeling self-conscious or weird or whatever, eating in your own restaurant.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I like it. I like that place a lot. And I mean, it's more, I like the price is right too. But yeah, sometimes, you know, just sitting there and feel like I should be working, but.
So that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't work nights
Do you look
anymore.
like you're slacking?
Yeah. I hung up my night shift spurs a while back.
Okay.
But you know, like when we went down there and interviewed Teddy Nuggets, we all went and ate with Jesse at Dai Due, and I do remember Jesse was an awesome host, but he was like looking around at everything as much as hanging out with us at the table, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Like, keep an eye on stuff.
It's a hard thing to do. Yeah,
it is.
Would you? Because you said like your employee programs are part of your Green Star, and your Jesse came up with employee challenges as part of their employee programs, because you know, like it's a high stress environment.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about one last night that was, I thought, fantastic.
Yeah, I can guess which one.
Yeah.
Well, I try to do it every month. Sometimes I can slack a little bit, but we try to give all of the back of the house employees, everybody in the kitchen, we give them something. That could be a gift card. It could be an oyster knife. It's something. It could be a steak. And from that, they need to deliver back almost like an essay about that. And it'll be very clearly defined. Like the first one we ever did, we made everybody go to a specific taco trailer and order the tacos there. And then I wanted them to report back on how the onions and the cilantro were cut, because it's very, very important because they're cut with Michelin star precision. Like beautiful, always super consistent. And just like, and you're eating.
I wish we had some
$2
cilantro. Is there any
taco.
cilantro in the kitchen?
I don't think so. Do you want some now?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how to cut the shit up the way you're supposed to.
The stuff is finely chopped with a knife. Well, that was their
Stems
and it
and
was
all.
report
Let me
back
check.
on the importance
back
of
up. Stems or no stems?
stems. All of it was cilantro, absolutely stems. Yeah.
Okay.
Go. Yeah, stems are good.
You can't just start at one end and go to the other end, kind of
You
bunched up with your
can.
hand.
We're really digressing, but I've been here before. The stems on cilantro can be used as an aromatic, like onion or garlic. Too.
Yeah.
You can cook those, like put those in the beginning, like with your carrots and stuff, and they'll add a little bit of cilantro, but a nice, beautiful cooked note. But also, like when you're chopping cilantro, stems are fine.
Okay.
in my
So you
opinion.
wanted a report on this?
Yeah, that's an example.
Yeah.
And then another would be the we're facing a big shift in how oysters are gathered on the coast, and so you have farmed oysters and you have dredged oysters, and we're trying to support the farmed mariculture of oysters.
Boy,
And
did
so-
I get a earful about this from the oyster dredgers.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, buckle up. So, but we had one of the oyster farmers come in. Bring a bunch of oysters. We popped a bunch of sparkling wine for the staff, and everybody sat there and ate oysters. And she gave a presentation on oysters. So we learned a little bit about oysters.
Okay.
So every time I'm just trying to pick a topic, we really want them to connect with. We're a very meat heavy restaurant. We really want them to connect with what that means. And so we took all the back of the house staff out to a farm, and everybody killed a chicken, and we funneled all the blood from the chicken into breadcrumbs and herbs, and then we pan fried that. Everybody ate it. We stewed a bunch of chicken, and then everybody took their chicken home. And so then they had to kind of, report back, and I'll give them a list of questions, like, how was that? Some people were bawling. Some people were just like, no problem. And then they have to kind of report back on that. The
I
lesson
feel like
being,
you could get yourself in a mild little bit of hot water with that routine.
Oh, I love it though. I mean, it's
how so?
Picture down the road, there's a headline, and it says, Texas restaurant man makes employees kill chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You following me?
It's the first sign of like being a serial killer, right? Yeah.
And people would see that Texas, and that's all they needed to hear.
Yep.
Why only back of the house?
The people that just read headlines would have a problem with
Yeah,
it.
I'd be like, yeah. That's as far as I'd get. No.
That's a good question. Mostly because I feel that they don't earn as much, and they are also there. And I always have this two-way street principle with everybody that works there. But like you work really hard for us. We educate you and give you as much knowledge as we possibly can. Like there's no secrets, any recipe, any technique, anything that anybody at that restaurant knows should be always shared. And so we try to add value to the back of the house experience through this program specifically. And so we have about 14 people in the back of the house. They all participate, and they always do. It's great. It's really fun.
So is that not changing at all? Because I did a few years in the restaurant industry.
Long tongue.
That's why they call
Yanni.
them long tongue Yanni.
And
Tuscaninis.
yeah, it's
grill
like
man.
when that light bulb goes off, and you're like, "Wait a minute, how much did you make tonight?" And then you look at your paycheck, and you're like, it could be half or a third of your, like a 2-week paycheck, and they cleared it in one night in cash tips.
Certainly.
It's like very hard to stay in the back of the house. And I've always thought that, someone would be working on, and I think at some places they do even pool tips with the back of the house.
We do.
Right? Oh,
We
you guys
do that
do.
as well. Yeah.
But even then, it's still,
There's
doesn't bring
a
'em up to-
disparity. There's
yeah.
a clear disparity, but that is again why we introduced that. Our back of the house managers, every month they get a cookbook. So if you've worked there for 3 years, you've got 40 cookbooks. Any one you want, pick out a cookbook, you get it. And then we do this. There's pretty good health benefits, mental health benefits, things like that. Just trying to add value to the back of the house experience because it's a hard job and it doesn't pay as well as front of the house. And so just being able to add stuff like this is, a effective benefit that we can extend to them.
So I'm sorry, the chicken deal. We didn't get to this last night, but like you had people go home, roast their chicken, and then report back on that.
That was the next month. So yeah, so after they killed their chicken, they reported on how the whole thing went down with them, and then reflecting on that, because we deal with lots and lots of dead animals coming through the restaurant, and you got to see, 14 of them die. You got to do one yourself, hopefully that sticks, and helps with waste and things like that. You're not going to be like, whatever, this quail I dropped, or no, dropped it. Of course it's going in the trash, but just have that.
Well, it wouldn't go in the trash at my
respect.
house. Just
The respect that we're really trying to instill on them. And then the next month, yes, they roast the chicken. And then since there's, a million different ways, all we said was just roast it however you want. and report back on how you roast it. So we get into kind of technique, and everybody just compare notes on that, and just make it kind of a fun, interactive thing where everybody's just exchanging information, and it's all done through a chat. So it's like you're submitting a written essay.
Oh, I got it. You know what? This won't matter to anyone but me, but you're combining two. You're probably talking about chickens, killing chickens and collecting the blood and all that. That's colliding with a different thing that's in my head right now, which is I'm reading a new book about.
I think we can all agree that's never happened to me.
Happens to me a fair bit. I'm reading a book about the Battle of Manila. The Oxford University Press just put out a book about the Battle of Manila in the Philippines.
World War II?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. MacArthur?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to give the end away.
Did he return?
Yeah, he returned. But my God, man. Like the Japanese knew they couldn't win. And I'm getting to the chickens in a minute. The Japanese knew they couldn't win. They killed 100,000 civilians in Manila. Just as like a departing gift. Anyhow. Years ago, I was in the Philippines. And I went to cockfights. Which is probably of the days I've spent in my life, one of the most influential days I've ever had in my life was being at the cockfights, where they lash the blades on those chickens. It's hard to follow the action because the chickens fight fast. It's great, but the thing that struck me is they got a big kettle of boiling water, and they got a big funnel. All these cocks, I'm sure this does not happen in a lot of more affluent places. This is down way in the south of the Philippines, just north of Mindanao. But when the cockfights go on, as soon as your cock gets killed, you go and it's like a little assembly line.
You make soup?
They drain the blood into the funnel. It's collected in the bucket. They got the boiling water. You plunge your deal, pluck your rooster. And everybody that's leaving is leaving with plucked. Everybody that's leaving is leaving with plucked roosters. And I imagine a lot of those fighting cocks don't wind up in a cook bit pot.
Why not?
Because people don't want roosters probably. I don't know.
Well, they eat bulls after bullfights.
Oh,
But,
they do?
well, hold on. If they're gonna go through that, and that's if it's that much of a process, they're not being forced to pluck their birds, are they?
They have to be eating them.
No.
There's probably an
They're taking them home
energetic
to eat 'em.
level to it.
No, I know, but you're saying
that's a
they're
good point, Jesse.
not
Yeah.
getting eaten.
Yeah.
I bet you. I'm not
is
like
not
I
the
wanted to get
tenderness
into.
thing.
I wanted to get into going to more cockfights. I used to hang out with this Dominican dude, and he would go back to Dominican Republic just to go to cockfights. And I was going to go, but my wife was pregnant. She thought it was inexcusable that I was going to cockfights. Well, anyways, I didn't go. I've only been to one cockfight. But what I'm saying
Can we
is,
start that trend? Cockfights and roller pigeon derbies?
you can't do them here. But Burkhard, the writer Burkhard Bilger, you ever hear of him? He's the guy, how like noodling for flatheads became a huge thing? Burkhard Bilger made that. He had a book, Noodling for Flatheads. It was about like Southern tradition. He wrote a big piece about cockfighting, the back, like illicit underground cockfighting in the U.S. Anyhow.
Have you read Clifford Geertz's The Balinese Cockfight?
No.
It's a classic anthropological study where he goes to Bali, and he it's just this deep analysis of how you can explain all of these, like all of Balinese society, by the way that the cockfight unfolds and how people behave around there.
Maybe I'll read that.
Yeah.
God, I'm so
I didn't
off
know
track.
you were such an aficionado.
I'm not. I went to a cockfight. I spent a day at the cockfights. It was one of the most
MeatEater
influential
cockfight
days of
tour
my life.
overseas.
And I guessed, I don't know, maybe a big cockfighter can write in and tell me. I bet you could go to a lot of cockfights and not see the cocks handled as a culinary item with quite the level of precision that one sees in the Philippines.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
So I'm trying to get to. They're even collecting the blood, which Jesse was just talking about.
Gotcha.
Jesse,
To
you
cook.
will get in trouble. if you do a monthly challenge and it's cockfighting.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
since you're restaurant based, the killing of a chicken
That Green
and turning
Star
it into food.
would be short-lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up cockfights because we were just hanging when we hung with Heffelfinger in Arizona. We talked about cockfighting, and he was like the hypocrisy, of saying that you can't do that here, but then to go and buy a chicken breast and to know how that chicken and the environment that it lived in and what it was subjected to versus the life that a fighting cock lives. Like if you had pet chickens, you would always choose to have your chicken live the life of a fighting cock versus one that's grown in, American poultry breeding farm.
I just had my first little bit of like teenage idealism spring up in one of my kids who's 14.
Short-lived?
He got to
tap it?
watching animal rights videos that hack on industrial farming,
Mm-hmm.
and he declared he's only going to eat wild meat, no more fast food. And he was showing me a video where there's like a conveyor belt at a chicken producing facility. It's a conveyor belt full of eggs and chicks that goes into a grinder, and it's just unwanted. It just like never ends. Just a conveyor belt, little yellow chicks and eggs and just whatever into this grinder.
10 million chickens a day.
And he's like, man, and this is just like the unwanted little chicken babies. And he said, he like vowed up and down he's never going to ever eat anything but wild meat. And I'm like, welcome to being a teenager. You'll find these things get harder and harder to stay true to the older you get.
I mean, that was the whole point of that exercise is like, this happens 10 million times every day. You just did it once, and it was kind of profound.
Yeah.
So definitely worth a second look.
Walk through, just so people can get the sense of how you guys run stuff at your restaurant. Pick a thing like how you guys do your own beef tallow, or how you guys do, what were you talking about the other day? What you guys do when you get a bunch of blueberries, just something like that.
Oh yeah, and your fermentation, like you guys have months long prep processes.
Sure.
Yeah, because I was with you one time, and you were all hopped up. We were down in South Texas. And you were all worked up about buying every piece of citrus you could find and every pecan you could find.
Oh, I
like
just made a run.
Filling a van full of that stuff.
Yeah, that place that you and I went to closed, and so we have to go even farther south now.
Yeah,
and so it wasn't that much farther. We drove further down that highway and finally found a citrus stand, and I rolled in there and we bought I think 12 cases of lemons. And it's the first time we'd had lemons in months. And then brought them back, and everybody's joyous and happy about it.
Yeah. So pick anything like what I want you to do is explain an example of, because in Dai Due, everything is from around here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's seasonality.
Yeah, totally.
It's not as severe as in the north, but there's still seasonality in Texas.
Yeah.
So pick an example of something where what you need to do, because you can't just buy lemons whenever you want, right?
Yeah, I mean, lemons are always a really good example, I think. It's because like something as simple as iced tea, also tea. So we use Yaupon holly, which is the only plant that naturally contains caffeine in North America, and it grows as a invasive understory in East Texas. And so we get Yaupon holly leaves and make tea out of that.
How do you get those?
There's actually a couple producers that make it. They're out there harvesting it, and then they do the whole drying process and then supply tea, which is really cool. That they're making that product out of this. I mean, it's everywhere.
So your tea is from Texas.
Yeah.
I could see a campaign like we put the tea back in Texas.
It's pretty solid. And so, but most of the year, if you get iced tea and you say, "Hey, can I have a lemon with that?" We're like, "Sorry," and we have to give we don't say sorry. We spin it in this like more educational direction of like, oh, well, we only source things from here. So sometimes in October, barring a hard freeze the previous February, we will see some lemons. And, for a brief window of time, if you wanted a lemon with your iced tea, we had it. But we go through, like we just recently had our pork producer, our domestic pork producer went through he just ran out of product, and he's like, listen, I need 6 to 8 weeks to get caught back up. And we're not going to have any pork for our pork chop, our bacon, all this stuff. And so it was fun. We totally pivoted to feral hogs. And so we were just, having conversations with the processor that handles all the hogs, like what we're looking for. Luckily it's at peak time of year for feral hogs, like kind of when they're ripe.
I can see it like cradling the phone between your neck and your ear as you're loading your 50-round mag on your AR. You're like,
And so we had to pivot to that, which was very, on brand for us at least. When people, because the pork chop is a very popular item, but they would come in and be like,
oh my God, that pork chop's good, man.
Well, we don't have it right now, but we do have these much smaller wild boar chops prepared in exactly the same way, and did a bunch of just different things. But we were having to process, for every domestic hog, we're having to process 3 70-pound feral hog carcasses. But luckily, they're all they're at their fattest right now because we had a really, really killer acorn pecan drop.
How long does that run for when they're fat?
It depends on weather. So, you get like your tree mass drop in October, November, but we had the most atypical year, and we still have pecans dropping right now. And it's late February, March. So we've had a really incredible year, relatively dry, so all that stuff sits on the ground really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the feral hogs have maintained a really high level of fat in the regions that have those trees in predominance, so like hill country and just to our southeast. And that's where we try to get our hogs from. And so they just look really good. So it was very, very optimal timing for that lag to happen, where we could just shift into the feral hogs because they were so fatty. But that's kind of the level of thinking that we have to put in, an organization. We have to call the processor and be like, listen, man, we're going to need you to cull out, 4, 5, 6 whole feral hogs weekly of optimal fat content and get them to us in this interim, and made it work.
There was a restaurant. Do you remember that restaurant out on, it was out in the San Juan Islands on the Willows? They want to be in a real controversial deal because they were acting like, what I said the name of the restaurant, Phil?
Which restaurant?
it's kind of what that
Well, I don't wanna
recent the menu's based off of, kind of.
I don't want to get in over my waiters here, but I don't want to someone fact check this.
Was it on VAT? No, it wasn't on Vashon.
I don't want to Willows. And there was an expose. Damn it, I don't want to what's it called when you say something?
Oh,
that's
this is coming back to
illegal?
me now. Yeah.
I don't want to
Slander.
perjure, so I don't want slander. Anyways, they had a thing where it was everything's from around here, but then there was never mind. I shouldn't have brought it up.
And to be fair, there are some things, there's some flour and sugar.
Well, no.
It was on Lummi Island, the Willows
Lummi
Inn.
I wasn't going to do that, but it was a more what the point I was going to make is that because you couldn't get the pork chops you wanted from the guy you wanted from, you pulled them from your menu, as opposed to running down to Costco.
Right. And a lot of places, unfortunately, that say local, or we use local and organic products whenever possible, aren't doing it. It's widespread.
Widespread.
I do want to point out that it permanently closed in 2022.
Yeah.
So, you're...
Yeah, it was a little deceptive. I went there and I smelled the fish. Not just the fish that was on my plate. I smelled the fish. I was like, no, man, doesn't seem right.
Yeah,
It doesn't add up.
When you say local whenever possible, you leave yourself a lot of
Well, it wasn't possible.
Or
more to the point.
It depends on how hard you want to try to get local.
They would do this thing where they're they serve some sea cucumbers, and she gestures out the window, being they're right. She gestures out the window as though they were caught. They were picked right there. Or it's all that our friends at this, our friends at that, our friends at this. And then you look the stuff up and you're like, are you sure they're friends? Kind of and then everything's from the garden, but the garden's not that big.
Yeah.
And it's in a temperate rainforest.
Right.
And there's like limits to how much you can grow at that latitude.
Certainly.
And you just, after a while, it's like, come on, man. Like running with it hard.
Yeah.
You know?
But just like what you said about think of the logistical ability that you need to have to forecast and work around your primary hog protein supplier saying like 6 to 8 weeks we're out. I mean, I think that's plenty for people to be like, oh, this green Michelin star thing's pretty cool, but boy, Cisco truck every Wednesday.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, it's enabled by the fact that we have such a good relationship with that producer, you know, and we've known him for 17 years. And so when he called, he gave us for plenty of head start, and it enables us to do it. But I think people expect that of us, you know, and we expect that of ourselves too. We're not gonna ever purposely not serve something that we don't know about. We've been misled before. We've been cheated. You know, we've had farmers show up and swear up and down that they grew this thing, and then we find a little grown in Mexico sticker on one of them.
No, really?
Oh, it's happened. And it's like, what do we do at that point? You know, it's like very confusing. It's a conundrum. Yeah. You will have people just, and we had one guy in particular, like he misled us for years about product, and it was devastating, because I was like, man, that's our reputation right there. Like, we stake everything on this, and I think he got into a lie and then never got out of it. And then when we found out, we were just like, we kicked him to the curb. We're like, don't ever come back here, man.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Well, so what about something like quail, right? So, I mean, you deal in like the exotics, which it would be Nilgai and the aoudad that we mentioned, and then feral hogs. We've covered a bunch. Like, there's a legal way to get those to a resale market. But yeah, what about quail? How does that work?
Yeah, you have like game birds or game animals, and then you have wild game, I think. And I think there's two distinct categories, and we're also very upfront about that. You know, duck. You know, there's some restaurant in New York City that's just like, you know, advertising that they're selling wild duck. I'm like, you want to probably tap the brakes on that. First off, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, but you also don't even know enough about the topic to know that that's been illegal for more than a century.
Yeah.
But you know, it just sounds good to them. And, but we serve farm raised duck, you know, we serve farm raised quail. But then beyond that, if we're presented with an opportunity to source like true wild game, we absolutely will. And we're in Texas where it's pretty easy. It's facilitated by TDA, the Department of Agriculture, and we can get nilgai. And this is why we tend towards nilgai, especially. It's because they don't like corn, and they're field harvested in the wild by Broken Arrow Ranch by shooters and helicopters. We tend towards nilgai because of that, because it is such a pure ingredient. It's an invasive. We'll get some axis here and there, and then feral hog has to be trapped live and then brought to the processor and killed with an ante-mortem inspection, and then post-mortem inspection, and then we can get them like that. We can't go out and shoot them. And if you have them in your back of your truck, we can't take those either.
Do people show up ever?
A couple times, but a lot of offers. A lot. Hey, we got all that you could ever use. I'm like, that's not how it works, really. There's very strict protocols behind that. And then lately we've been sourcing a lot of aoudad. And the aoudad's on the menu. Those are maybe coming from high fence places, maybe coming from low fence places, or catching them in big pen traps. But we're putting aoudad on there as part of a wider campaign to educate people on the pure edibility of aoudad.
Well,
Can you go into that more? Because I'm doing a aoudad hunt in Texas with my boyfriend and Corey, actually, in April. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, aoudad are kind of these. They're like hogs in a lot of ways, but they just inhabit. I mean, in impact. Yeah. And they inhabit different regions, you know, the far hill country all the way out to West Texas, where there's a lot of them. And they're widely not eaten. And so we have them on our menu, you know.
And when you say widely, let's just set the stage here.
I found it to be I ate one down to the bone. I found it to be a pretty rough meat.
Did you, how is that prepared?
I made everything.
Oh, you
with
made
man.
it.
When you-
I mean, you made
What'd
it.
you do?
Okay.
Tough or rough as like it wasn't palatable.
May I preface
No,
with a
just go
question?
on. Yeah.
No. Did you cook it in a dry heat method? Like,
No.
did you grill it or smoke it?
I made jerky with it. We made barbacoa with it.
Oh, okay.
We cooked its lungs, not its lungs. We cooked its kidneys, heart, liver, and then I did various like roasts and whatnot.
Okay.
It just wasn't, to me wasn't. I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't wait to get another aoudad.
Was it
Ate
flavor or texture?
Flavor, strong.
Really?
Yeah. It just wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
But everything can't be your favorite.
No. I love it, but also I have to be really clear, and I've never had an aoudad from West Texas. We've only eaten hill country aoudad.
Mhm. Mine was from very West Texas.
Yeah, so maybe sagey.
Yeah, just like I mean, it was bad. It's just
Yeah.
I kind of got a lot of times you eat something like take javelina for instance.
Mhm.
If you just took if you're cooking a javelina, you're going to be doing steps and processes, right? You can't just no one just takes like a javelina steak and throws it in a pan, right? It's
Right.
like a thing that requires you to bring a certain level of expertise to it. I found aoudad to be like the kind of thing where you need to bring a level of expertise to get something that you would be comfortable just serving to friends that come over for dinner.
Sure.
It wasn't like fail safe.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people go wrong, and they might treat aoudad like venison, and then that same person might treat venison like beef, and so you're kind of failing in that it's a particularly it's a metaphorically tough meat. I mean, it's a tough animal.
Chewy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're cutting an aoudad, like you can get tired. I found, it's like the meat is just like
Really?
it's got a density to
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Like after I break down an aoudad, I feel like I've had more like 40% more resistance than I would if I just killed a doe, like whitetail.
Okay.
And the way that you approach cooking it, I mean, it's very simple. I think grind and stew, but you have to incorporate liquid into it. It has to be cooked for a very long time, but I really like it. We grind it. We make meatballs, like your
Okay.
friend mentioned. Make meatballs out of it, and we can aggregate all animals that way too. We could get a ewe, we could get a ram, doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
All goes into the pile together. But more than anything, we're just trying to, illuminate the sheer fact that you can eat
Sure,
these
man,
things
yeah.
and promote it. Probably the only restaurant in the hemisphere that's got aoudad on the menu. I don't know of anybody else that even has access to them. And then when people say, "Where do you get them?" I'm like,
Is
sorry.
there any tender part of that you'd like cut small and stir fry?
The tenderloins and the
Yeah.
loins tend to even be a little on the dense side. If you and backstraps have not a horizontal grain to them. They have a slightly offset grain.
Huh.
And with an aoudad, you have to be particularly careful with that, and that you have to nail that 90 degree on that slight offset. I'd say, and it's sitting at like 30 degrees off. It's not just straight down. And if you don't nail that, then you've still got this slight angle, this diagonal grain running through your slices. And if you get it super thin, it can be really good. We cooked an aoudad next to a whitetail one night. Just did steak frites, with like a bordelaise sauce, and everybody liked the aoudad just as much as the whitetail. But I had to slice it super thin. I love them. We're in a way so lucky that we can, like me and my daughter hunt a lot, and we could kill axis, hogs, and aoudad only. And these are all these high impact invasives, and it feels pretty good to do something like that. And especially aoudad, it's almost a goal now. I'm going to be an apologist for those as well. Try to get more people on board with at least, or equipping people with better methodology to make it more palatable.
Heck
Yeah, you
we're
turn
gonna-
you turn the world on to hogs, and now you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna help people figure out how to do audads.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna call you when I'm trying to figure out
Do
what
it.
to do with it.
Where are you hunting?
Way south, bordering Chihuahua.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's, West Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always draw for I hunted them out in West Texas, but I always put in New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't drawn in New Mexico
Okay.
yet.
Yeah. You'll be out in the Davis Mountains probably.
Because you can do like like in New Mexico, you can do like public land aoudad hunts.
Yeah, it's
The grain, the differentiation in the grain and the backstraps as you're talking about, is that something that's like characteristic to sheep in general?
No, deer too.
Deer too.
Yeah. Like if you have a larger deer loin, and the deer backstraps that I deal with are way smaller than what you guys have with or elk or mule deer or even larger whitetails. And so if you just take a really close look at it and you'll see that it's just slightly offset. And then when you're slicing it out, if you come in and you hit it at a very slight angle, you're going to be getting that true 90 degree on it. And that's where you get the most tenderness out of that slice.
Gotcha. No, I thought you were, okay.
How do these audads come to you?
Same way.
What form?
They're trapped in the same types of traps that the feral hogs come in are trapped in. So you've got your cell phone style drop gate traps.
Okay.
And so they'll just wait for them and drop the trap on them. And we've been so consistent that we've been able to get them because then our processor is talking to trappers, and then once that incentive stream is reached, they know, oh, we need more aoudad, and so they start bringing us more.
But what I mean is, how do they show up at your place? In what form?
Either trim or whole carcass, depending on what our needs are.
Nice.
Cut off behind the ears.
Yeah, the skin and gutted, whole carcass. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But you don't have a big old pile of them horns laying around now.
No.
Got it.
I got a question. So you were saying like the aoudad, like it needs like moisture or water. So I defrosted some rib meat that I had sliced out from whitetail, and I seared on a cast. I was just in a rush. I wasn't trying to prep a meal. I just want to eat some meat. So I just put some dry rub seasoning oil through in a cast iron pan, just a couple minutes.
I'm already reaching for my dental floss. I'm reaching for my dental floss stick
see,
right now.
A quick meal. So I decided to get something I had to chew on.
But
For 3 years.
as an aside, I don't always like soft textured meat. I don't always want like a really soft backstrap. Like I'm used to eating tendon, which sometimes can be like melt in your mouth, right?
Sure.
But sometimes it's chewier. So I'm like, I think the breadth of meat textures that I'm comfortable with and happy to gnaw on, like that's, I mean, an Asian cuisine, right? It's just not exactly the same. But I felt like the meat was juicier, and there was a little bit of chew, but it was juicier. Then I used some of the same rib meat, and I did Chinese 5-spice, daikon, blah, 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 threw that in the pressure cooker for 12 minutes. Now that meat was so dry, but kind of pull apart, and I really didn't like that. What happens?
It's collagen. So belly is very specific to this, where you're going to have these striations of lean meat, very dense lean meat, a very thick and solid layer of collagen or silver skin, and then typically layers of fat. And you might repeat that a couple times. And so collagen isn't going to melt into gelatin until it hits about 190 over a period of time. Now, a pressure cooker can achieve that. But if you just cook it really quick, then you're not going to hit that. I mean, you might hit 190, but you're not going to hit it for 2 or 3 hours that it's going to start to break down. I always, like pork. People sometimes are surprised, pork is cooked through at one temperature, but it shreds at a different one. It's cooked through at, 160, 165. But when pork shoulder starts to fall apart, that's 195, 200. And so that's that collagen breaking down, and then fat and things like that.
That's
So
what that is. But the meat itself feels drier. Like I wanted it.
yeah, that's possible
Re-add
too.
fat, okay.
I don't have a ton of experience with pressure cookers, so I don't know really what happened there. If you had braised that maybe with some sort of liquid, in maybe a more moderate temperature, you might have had a more silken experience.
Okay.
Like for me, braising meats like stew meat, or if you want to make a sugo or a ragu or bolognese, chili, bourguignon, no better meat than rib meat.
Okay. But you're doing that
Slow
long
and
and
low.
slow
Yeah.
on
4,
yeah,
5,
so
6
no
hours.
pressure cooker stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it the real way.
You know what dish of yours I've been making a fair bit when I'm having company over? Is that one German style roulade.
Oh yeah, that is like one of the most popular. Like because we did it on the show down there at the Eteria, and I
Yeah.
rolled that whole belly up. People love that. It's accessible, and it's a new use for that cut that they just didn't really consider before, and it's so easy to peel that whole thing off in a big sheet.
You got to be. You got to be decent with a knife. Yeah. So what Jesse does, like if you're sitting there at home, picture you got a skinned out deer carcass laying there. A lot of guys are going to remove the rib meat. You're just going to kind of go between the ribs and get all these strips that look like a jerky strip. Not suitable for jerky, but it's going to look like a jerky strip. Picture that you came in and removed all the meat in one big sheet so that you got every rib you come to, you got to every rib you come to, you got to flay around the rib up and over, and you wind up with, like, you basically remove that deer's side as a sheet. And then Jesse lays
mustard.
Yep, good seedy mustard all over it.
Yeah.
Pickled jalapenos.
Yep. Onion.
What else you put in there?
Just
That's it?
Mustard, bacon, onion, and then some sort of pickle. Traditional German would be just like a gherkin or like a cornichon style pickle, or dill pickles even, and then you roll that up.
Tie it, and then braise it. Man, them suckers are good, man.
They're good. And
I've been cooking the hell out of those when I get a piece.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I love that. I always take that off the deer. You also don't have to go in and get that meat between the ribs. A lot of times I'll just take that whole sheet off, and then later I'll come in and peel that or cut that meat out, the intercostal or the finger.
Yeah, but it just depends on what time of year it is, because like if
there's a time of year where you can see through.
Right. Right. Like if you kill a buck that's been gone through the rut.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get in there to wind up with a whole sheet.
Yeah.
Because they lose so much weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you take the hide off, it basically turns into jerky in 12 hours on its own on the bone.
Yeah, like if you leave it hanging in the wind, and all of a sudden it's like a glass. You can kind of see through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a good dish. There's one I texted you about the other day because I like your. This is more of a.
Hey, can I do I want to have a follow-up question,
yeah.
because I think oftentimes I look at that slab of meat and I'm like, man, it's all covered up in foamy purple, bloodshot. You know, how do you deal with that?
I mean, if you've lost part of it, then I don't mess with bloodshot stuff. I cut it out.
Well, but it's not like it's actually where the impact was, or even where like the little, area around the impact is
under the hide.
But it's just like the blood and the purple stuff is spread. Like at some point, do you do some cleaning?
I trim what I can, but if you've lost one of your sides or flanks or whatever you want to call it,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I do it. I do that cut when I see a piece that is suitable.
Right.
I did it with pulled a big sheet off of a moose. It's too much.
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's too
thick.
much.
Yeah, it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on between the layers of all the good stuff in the middle.
Yeah.
It just winds up being like,
yeah, I could see that.
yeah, it's too much of a good thing.
Yeah. What was the other dish you were talking about?
Well, I texted you. So when you and me and Katie ate dinner, one of my favorite things you guys make is that brined pork chop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that thing is good, dude.
So good.
So I had some wild hog. I had a wild hog backstrap that had a nice fat layer on it. And I asked you about your brine. It was a very simple brine. I feel like you put some things in there that are dumb.
The star anise?
Yeah, it's just I don't think it matters.
I think it absolutely matters.
No, you're the chef. All right. You're the chef.
So I made smothered pork chops the other night, and it's the key to that is that you brine those. And if you have like a leaner feral hog, this is great. You cut those pork chops, but you brine them with that star anise, dust them in flour, a ton of onions, and then some stock, and then cook that down, and it just makes this nice oniony gravy. But then when you go in and you
keep back up, I got too confused.
Just little thin slices of backstrap or pork chops, boneless pork chops.
I haven't told you what I did with it, so you can't correct me.
Well, I'm a little worked up about the star anise right now. I want to give it worth.
Anyway. Explain
Did
all
you omit
aspects
it
of
from the brine?
Yes.
Of course you did.
You know what? I did.
Okay.
So I was like, if I wanted it to taste like that, I'd put that on the meat. Rather than trusting that my brine is going to you got to admit, dude, you have to admit. Sometimes people are putting things in brine because it looks cool in your fridge.
Okay.
You don't agree?
The
Fridge
star anise
decoration,
is
jars of
absolutely.
brine.
If you like the pork chop at Dai Due, the star anise is a key component to that.
So you're telling me that if I Pepsi challenged you and I did one of your
100%
pork
I could taste
chops,
that, Yes. Yes.
Let's do it.
Anise is such a.
I'll run down to Rose Hours right now.
I would like to see it.
24-hour
Oh, I
run.
was thinking you and I could fly down to
We
Austin
probably-
and go to Dai Due, and we could have two
I'm gonna
different
make
pork chops.
5. I'm gonna make
It's
5.
in the budget,
I'm gonna
I
have
think.
your team make
Okay.
me 5,
Okay.
and I'm gonna have one of them
Uh-huh.
be with star anise.
I got it.
And then I'm going to have you eat it, and you tell me what one had in the brine.
in the bag. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was pretty good.
In spite.
Anyways, what I did, I want to hear your opinion. You know better than me, but what I did is I soaked it was a wild hog backstrap. It's not a giant thing.
Sure.
I just did the whole damn thing in the brine.
Okay.
Then grilled it and sliced it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Son of a bitch, that was good, man.
Yeah.
Now
It would
tell
have
me
been
what I
better.
Tell me what I should have done.
Put some anise in there. it's
It's so good.
It's a key.
You think
it's
so?
Key.
You don't think it's just mental masturbation?
No, not at all. I always compare like a feral hog, especially it's got a bit of that overt, strong flavor to it. We won't use the G word as like a rough piece of plywood, and the star anise is some fine grit sandpaper coming in and buffing that out. And it's just like it just helps it, and that's the whole entire spice trade. Were we talking about this last night in Venice?
A little bit.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
just
bit.
like
But
the
I do
entire
want to
spice
just let you
trade.
know that you're in a safe place. If you haven't actually thought about your menu and the ingredients, it's okay to just say that.
It feels like I wondered why I was putting that in there.
Yeah.
Stupid of me.
Lying in bed tonight.
I never knew it was so
Was it
stupid.
just sitting on the shelf?
Staring at the
I
ceiling.
never knew it was so stupid to make one of my number one favorite dishes the way I make it.
At my award-winning restaurant.
I'm glad I talked to that young man
Yeah.
at that podcast.
The entire spice trade was there to kind of mask strong meats, and so the spices I think have a very clear role in that. And it's not overt, and people that hate fennel or licorice and stuff like that typically still like the pork chop.
Okay, so I was maybe a little wrong. I don't know. I'll try it next time.
I'm ripping through just for funsies here. Some Google reviews of Dai Due.
Oh no!
And I think this would like fall in Steve's review category. This person had a pastrami sandwich. Really good, but a little heavy.
To pick up.
Yeah, the pastrami is pretty serious.
But I don't understand like what your expectation of a pastrami sandwich would be.
It was too much. I got too much sandwich.
Yeah.
So the dining experience was great. Knocked you a star for your parking situation.
When I was pouring the concrete out there, I was looking around thinking maybe a couple more, but I was like, nah, I think this is enough.
But I also just like think of how many restaurants
Yes.
there are on the planet that
Yes.
have no parking.
Correct.
None.
Yes, I would like to address that person right now and be like, we rent that building, not our parking lot.
That's the thing when you're checking out a product on whatever website, and then you're wondering like it has some 1 stars, and it winds up being something that's like the delivery guy left it at my neighbor's place.
Yeah,
1 star.
We had a guy who commented, he was very disappointed in you personally because of the parking situation at the University of Montana. And he said, I would have thought you could have done a better organized event than to have parking like that.
Oh, jeez, I'm
Fair.
impressed about that. Turkey season's coming up.
Oh yeah.
What
15 days from now,
Well.
me and Yanni will be looking at gobblers 14 days from now, and hopefully
Ew.
get a couple upside down on the 15th.
Roosting them.
What are people dumb not to do this turkey season with their turkeys.
I mean, let's
go negative.
We're gonna go baseline on this, and I recently had an experience where I spoke to a lot of turkey hunters in one confined area, and the number that still aren't taking the legs is pretty stunning. I just don't get it. Like, I mean, they're tough. It's like, well, you didn't cook them long enough. Legs, I think there's a lot of value on the wings. Montana, I had no idea you have to take the wings according to the regs.
Well, I thought they undid that.
I feel like I just saw that.
You know, I mean, last year I read those regs. You're still
Take the wings.
supposed to take the wings.
Of course you did. I mean,
I know that they undid it on a lot of other birds.
Okay.
So I know
right.
they didn't undo
right.
it.
Well,
I saw that.
I mean, obviously, this is not what a lot of people do, right? But like, it is not hard to pluck a turkey. I will argue with anybody. Like, it just does not take that much time. But if you go all the way out to the wing tips, like those things are so full of, there's like probably more fat and collagen in that little section than a lot of the bird itself. So like making a little stock out of those wings is absolutely worth your while.
Yeah. I've got a routine with the wings. And we covered this last time. I don't pluck my birds because what I use them for, I don't need the skin on there.
Yep.
I do mostly like fried turkey or cutlets off of the breasts, and then just slow cooking and shredding those legs. But I will every once in a while I'll pluck one just to look at it and have that skin. But I don't know, just utilize more of it. I don't get the time deal. You sat under a tree for 7 hours and take you 30 extra minutes. Like I don't have time for this. Really?
Can I give I'm not asking if I can. I'm going to give people a way to think about turkey legs. So let's say you just skin the turkey leg out, right? So you skin the breast back like you're breasting the bird. You keep skinning till you get to the thighs. I like to take and cut the foot off at the ankle. Take a fillet knife and insert it and skin up. So you got like where the skin meets the feather on a leg?
Yeah.
That part's hard to pull.
Yeah.
So take a fillet knife and make a skinning cut, like you're skinning a deer's leg out. Make a skinning cut a few inches up the leg. Then you skin it, it goes quicker. It helps because it's hard to skin that part the other way around.
Right.
I freeze those, so I got the drummy and the thigh. And I put them, if you match them up, if you're smart about your geometry, you can match them up in a bag and you actually wind up with a rectangle in a freezer bag.
Yeah.
See, I'll even do them purposely part them out because I feel like the drumsticks take so much longer than the thighs that I now cook them separately.
I agree with that.
I like that.
Okay.
But also 2 turkey legs is quite a bit.
I'm not, but he had to let me finish.
Sorry.
Hear me out now.
It's like that front of house, back of house tension we were talking about.
It is. I need to be
I'm
better
just walking
about it.
through this is just one man's approach. This is one man's approach, right? So then, come cooking time, I got one of those. I have some of those. When I got married, and I've been married a long time. Those La Crusade, the giant oval La Crusade thing.
Those are nice.
All right,
So nice.
lay as many of those 2, 3, 4, whatever drumstick thigh combos. You put a season's worth of turkeys in there if you got 2 turkeys. Put them in there. I cover them with liquid. If I got stock, I do it with stock, but you don't even really need to do that if you're just short on time. Then I put foil over it to help not lose my liquid from steam. And just put it in your oven at 300 degrees and forget that you did it. If you got to go work for 9 hours, just add more water and forget that you did it. Leave a sticky note that says, do not mess with oven, so that your wife doesn't come in and turn the oven off because you're not home and haven't been home in hours.
Yeah.
And like all you're doing is you're getting it to the point where you can like tear it up and then you'll pick it and you'll have a giant bowl of picked meat. Now, get a cast iron skillet and put like a 1/4 inch of beef tallow in it or whatever.
Bear grease.
And cram that shit on that pan
Get it
until
nice and crispy.
the bottom is burning. Flip it until the bottom is like crispy.
Let's write a recipe this way.
I was gonna say this would be a great. This would be a great approach for a cookbook.
Yeah, seriously.
Carnitas.
And a
Language
little
like
bit
that.
of star anise.
And then you take all that, and it's just like you just do whatever you want with that.
Certainly.
You put it on tacos. You put it on sandwiches. I freeze it again and mark it like camping.
And then
And then you go camping and no one feels like doing anything.
Yeah.
So you open that bag up, dump it into a pan with barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And have more sandwiches. It's like it's not that hard.
Let's write the next cookbook
It's
like this.
It's like, oh wow, now I have a giant pile of super good stuff to eat.
Right. It's so easy.
That I can like do anything with.
There is a couple things though that you can even, I think, to make it better. One, we talked about this recently.
You can't make it better.
Yeah. Well, no, it is it's like instead of like after you shred it, back into the liquid and let it sit for a day or two, just soaking in that liquid and let that meat suck that moisture back in.
Yep.
It makes a huge difference. I think
right.
for any
All right, you
slow
can-
and low
certainly.
You can
recipe
make
with
it
wild
better.
game.
You can make it better.
Certainly.
And then I would say too, when you're gonna go with the big, bear grease cast iron skillet fry session, you can't overload a pan because you're gonna bring down your temp too much. So you got to do it in batches so you get that nice crisp that you want.
I disagree.
Because if you put all those 4 legs all in there at
Oh
one
no,
time,
you can't do 4. No, because you'd have to have an impressive cast. No, I didn't mean that.
Okay.
Yeah, like you got more than you can.
Yeah, we can't have like 2 inches.
Yeah, no,
of turkey
you got
meat
more.
going in there at once.
That's a great clarification. You wind up if you got like a 10-inch skillet. I don't know, what do you got, like
You're making
3/4 of an inch of meat.
meat pancakes.
Yeah, you got 3/4. Yeah, you're right. You can't pile them all in there. You just have a big. It'd be all steamy and
Yeah.
you wouldn't get what you're after.
This is carnitas.
Now,
Yeah,
how
essentially,
important?
I'm
is,
just trying to make it sound. Oh, can you settle a fight between me and Janis?
How?
Sure.
Can I have
do
a
it.
question first? How important is it to you? Because you didn't mention this in your recipe here. I want to know if it's important to you that before they go into the liquid, that you would sear or broil those legs to sort of crisp the outside, put salt and pepper on them. Do that.
I was trying to do the thing where I'm talking people into how easy it is. So I was
Right.
leaving out all these little added things one can do.
I feel like, well, and
But
if
I want
may.
to know the answer.
So
does it make a difference?
What he's describing is I mean, other cultures do this, but most notably Mexico does it, where there's this very slow, gentle cook followed by a crisping caramelization at the end. So the carnitas effect. If you were to do that in the beginning, where you're achieving the Maillard reaction on the outside, getting those sugars caramelized on the meat, and then cooking it, and then doing it again, probably not necessary as much, because you're going to achieve that at the end.
Got it.
You're going to get that crispiness at the end. So I would just go. I would side
Straight to the
Stevens.
liquid.
Straight to the liquid. Yeah.
That's good. It saves me time.
I'm a bird plucker because I don't I don't do a lot of like packaging in the field. So I have that skin as my barrier to dirt and everything else. And then when I get home, I inevitably am pulling the skin off of everything, but then I'll throw that in the stock pot. Or what I've done, and this is experimentation at home, is salt that stuff, cut it into strips, and just let it like sit there. It's not like very moist anyway, but then fry it.
Really?
So now he's making chicharrones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Turkey
Shit, really?
chicharrones. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cheating. Like, there's not a lot to that turkey skin,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but fried things taste great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You know what I made one time? Or I actually made this way more than one time. 3 times? Is you ever skin the whole damn turkey out?
3 is way more than 1.
Yeah. Well, hear me out. You'll see. You'll appreciate it.
Especially if you're a sailfish.
Nice.
That's it. That's the episode.
You ever skin a whole damn turkey out and then lay the hide out, and then you grind the turkey up, you grind the dark meat up, plaster it on that hide, and then you take the breast meat and cut long strips and lay those all out, and then you take like pistachio,
Ballotine.
yeah, galantine,
Galantine.
Yeah.
galantine, yeah, and then roll it up like a sausage, and then braise that. That's pretty good.
That sounds
That's
good. I've
labor
not done
intensive.
that. Yeah.
But why don't you can you settle a fight between me and Janis? And this is going to be the final word.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Do you know about the fight?
No.
You do.
Of course not. Well, I mean, I have no, but at this moment.
Sam Bates has been moderating the fight.
Yeah, then I do know. Please, let's go.
If you're rating food,
RATING.
yeah, you're rating a dish.
You could use the synonym judging.
You're judging food. Do you feel that if you're judging a dish and there's a bunch of criteria, and then those criteria get like a 1 to 5 score, so they're additive, right? Like they all need to work in synchronicity, or they all need to. What am I trying to say?
It's a holistic.
It's a whole. Yeah, you're making a holistic score with like 5 criteria, and all 5 criteria are scored 1 to 5. Do you feel that saying approachable and creative creates a conflict where if it's one, it's less likely to be the other, and if it's the other, it's less likely to be the one?
I'm sorry. So there's a scale that's like goes from approachable to creative?
No.
I mean, the question is really, can something be creative and
That's right.
approachable?
It can, yes. In some circumstances, I agree. I just feel like in some cases, these things are offset. Approachability and creativity, meaning we were just talking about, let's say you were the first guy to ever make a galantine. You would get a very high creativity score.
Yes.
But approachability, someone would say, shit, I'm not going to skin a whole damn turkey out like that. I'm going to give that a 1. That's not very approachable. That looks impossible. I just think, so my argument is that there's a conflict in scoring a dish. There's a conflict between approachability and creativity. Yanni believes that they are perfectly aligned.
I wouldn't say perfectly aligned, but if you can create something, which is kind of one of the key tenets of writing recipes, is how do you achieve both of those things? You know, how do you, because so much has already been written. So if you were to like make a really simple brine, you know, that's easy, that's approachable. But if you want to make it really good and really creative, you can put star anise in there.
Can you answer the question?
I did.
Who wins the fight?
I'm going to go Yanni, because I think that it doesn't have to pull. You could have high scores in both, because I think if it was easy enough, and then it was just like, and it was something like, oh, I never thought of that. You know, like, oh, that's great. That's a great little trick to do. And it's just like, it's easy. You can be creative, and then you can still, you want to inspire people that cook game to actually do it. You don't want to have these like crazy complicated recipes, maybe a couple, but for the most part, you want something approachable, but you got to have that. What's the thing? What's the icing on there? What's the thing that really kind of makes that recipe shine? You got to have a little bit of creativity, or every recipe needs to have this one different technique, different ingredient, or something that is simple that's just going to elevate that beyond all the recipes they've already seen. So
I've been making grilled cheeses for a while, my whole life. And only a few years ago did I discover that you can make a traditional grilled cheese, and then you finely shred some Parmesan on the outside of the grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Flip it back and forth.
That's it.
And then you have a crust of cheese on the
That's
outside
it.
of your grilled cheese.
That is a perfect example of that. That is approachable and creative. I say 5 and 5.
Okay.
I didn't come up with it. Just
Steve's
so you know.
got his wrong answer face
Do
going
you
on.
ever?
No. I said I put it to him. He came out. Yanni's right. I'm wrong. I don't care.
Do you ever just make a regular grilled cheese,
We'll never think about
but
it
don't
again.
stop there, and then add another layer of cheese and another piece of buttered bread, and just flip it over, and then start making layers of grilled cheese, and have maybe 2 or 3
Like
grilled
layer
cheeses
cake?
all in one?
Different cheese.
That is interesting. You're basically describing a Burger King Baconator without the patties and bacon.
I've never had one of those, but I've made many grilled cheeses that have 4 or 5 layers of
Baconator
bread
might
and
be a
cheese.
Wendy's product, actually. Yeah, I don't know.
The Burger King one
I'm getting-
was called like a stacker or something.
Yeah,
And you
BK
could-
stacker.
You could get you could get a quad. You could
Yeah.
get 4 patties. It was great.
Sorry, I've gotten us way off track.
Yeah.
Tell people what else they're dumb not to make this turkey season.
I mean, the heart liver gizzard, it's good stuff. It's of all those delicious animals out there, that's some of the mildest, especially that liver. I love it.
Okay, so what do you do with it?
And it's a simple pate, really nice.
Walk me through it.
Um,
Make it creative and approachable.
You're gonna sear the liver till it's about medium.
So, like I'm dumb. So
Okay, you're gonna put it in.
I got a turkey liver.
Uh-huh.
Okay, then I do what?
You're gonna season it with salt and pepper, and you're gonna put it in a hot pan with some butter, and you're gonna get a little brown on it.
Okay.
And you're gonna cook it till it's not super firm, a little pink in there, and you're gonna remove that, and then in a blender, you're gonna blend, and there's probably gonna be some sort of shallot or onions chopped up.
So it'd be
in
good to
there.
have your buddy's turkey liver too.
It would be.
Yeah, so you
It'll
got a
be
couple
helpful.
of-
Yeah,
you got a
If you've
couple
got a
of them.
couple, it'll help.
And it'd be also good if you got the gall sack off it.
Do that. That little green thing, cut around that.
Get out of it.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
that out of there.
Yeah, and then that you cool it off a little bit, and that goes into a blender, and you blend it until it's a smooth paste, and you're adding a little bit of cold butter every couple seconds till it kind of it's smooth and it's incorporated. Check the seasoning. There's add some sort of booze in there is usually good. A little bit of brandy or Applejack, something like that is usually nice. Just a few drops of that, and then if you really want to make it good, you're gonna press it with the spatula through a little mesh bowl strainer, and that's gonna remove any of the sinews and just the little stringy parts that are in a
They
liver.
might be hiding in there.
Yeah, and then that'll get it super smooth, and then you just chill that, and then you eat that with a little bit of warm toasted bread. So good.
Okay, hit me with a gizzard. Here I got a gizzard.
The gizzard, my favorite way to do the combo is what me and Cal cooked last time.
Real good.
Here was the ragu, where we, grind the heart liver gizzard all together and then render out a little bit of bacon or pancetta till that's browned, and then you add that ground heart liver gizzard in there. Then you grind some carrot, onion, celery, put that in there and cook that down. Little tomato paste, little stock, and then hit that with pasta.
And it's fast.
It's I mean, like less than an hour. And you get these three really distinct textures. We were talking about that. The gizzard, it's got a little strength to it. The liver smooths everything out, and the heart's kind of in between. You get a little bit of, I prefer pancetta, but I make a lot of it out of hog bellies.
Mm-hmm.
But smoked bacon is delicious as well. A little bit of tomato paste, and then that just slow cooks. And then you just cook some pasta, toss that in there, a ton of pecorino or Parmesan.
Is
on
that
top.
recipe in the turkey book?
It is.
Darn right it is.
It is.
I took everybody's collective turkey offal and made that in one big batch last year at the end of turkey season, and then packaged that up for camp meals.
Yeah,
That's cool.
me and Yanni, that's on the menu.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're having.
You
that.
want to know another one I
Looking
stole from
forward
you?
to it.
That I took one of your domestic meat recipes and converted it to
What's
a wild meat recipe. Is that at Dai Due? You guys do that? I don't know if you're still doing it. You got all those chicken hearts.
Oh, the skewer.
Yeah, which you're like, he's cooking chicken hearts in fat and then skewering them.
Yeah.
And then putting them on a hot grill.
Yeah.
So I take like a small little, I don't know how you even describe it, man. Like like a really heavy sided, like imagine like a enameled Dutch oven that's like dinky,
Mm-hmm.
Because that way I'm not wasting so much of my fat.
Right.
A little crock.
Yeah, I take like a little crock and just put a bunch of hearts in there and top it up. You could top it with olive oil if you needed to, but if you got like beef tallow or something, top it in there and just ever so like turn your burner down about as low as you can get it and offset it even. It's just like you're trying to do like a confit, which is a super low heat, right? It's not bubbling like fry oil. It's like a little bit like now and then it's like a little bloop,
Yeah.
bloop, bloop. Because if you overdo it, they'll mush out on you. But I do it like that, and then I skewer them.
How long does that take, the oil part?
I don't know, man. Maybe I do them for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
It's like a little fondue.
Duck hearts, grouse hearts, turkey hearts. You want to cut them up. They're pretty big.
Yeah, probably half them.
Yeah. And then have either a live fire or on a grill, and then
Nice
I put
and hot. Though.
yeah. And I don't know if you do it. I can't remember if you do it, but I do. I put some cayenne powder on there, some chili powder, something spicy,
Yeah, hot honey would be really good.
and then whap, whap.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
My kids will walk by just eating those little things. They love them.
The chicken hearts at the restaurant is my daughter's favorite.
You still serve that dish?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, the confit technique is just so applicable to so many things, just for, getting it tender and then coming in on the grill afterwards and just getting it cold and then putting it on the grill and just, you've got that tender meat and then you're adding in that char and sear and smoke. It works on a lot.
Oftentimes, I limit myself with doing confit because I feel like the amount of oil or fat needed and the cost associated with that. So a few times I've done it in a bag, sous vide style. Yeah, How do you feel about that?
I feel like it just doesn't work as well. I get it though. I mean,
I've done that too.
I have a kind of unlimited source of it. I would say just try to match like he's saying, match your cooking vessel to the quantity of meat and save as much of that fat as you can. And you can reuse the fat.
Yeah, that's what I started doing more. I got a shelf above my thing. I got little glass jars full of various oils that have had various things happen to them. Mm-hmm. And everyone knows not to mess with them. They just get the new stuff. But I'll be like, oh, I remember that oil. And I'll just use it for something.
Yeah.
You
can reuse it for confit. You might want to go in and get that liquid bottom part out of there because sometimes that can spoil. But if you've salted the meat previously, usually there's enough salt in that layer that it'll keep it from going off. But if that's another reason you put it in like a glass jar or something tall-sided so you can see it, maybe scrape it out and then get that part off the bottom.
You know what the fur trapper Stu Miller does with his old fish fry oil?
No.
He saves his old fish fry oil, puts it in a squirt bottle, and when he's setting coon cuffs, and you let it dribble down the bank and get into the creek or whatever, flings a craving on them. Fish fry grease.
I've had really good.
It's like everything a raccoon could possibly want, right? It's like grease and fish.
With hints of parsley in it or whatever.
Really good luck with crane legs and goose legs in doing it the sous vide confit style. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And man, a lot of times it's like dealing with the big vat to do a bunch of legs. Like a meal for one person, pretty darn easy in the sous vide style.
Yeah. A buddy of mine shows up at the tailgate with those. So after a long day of hunting, just pulls that out of the cooler cold, already done.
Yeah.
And just cuts that vac bag open and just hands out pheasant legs to people. So you're having a beer and a sous vide and a confit pheasant leg. And it's delicious.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Do any of you guys do it the Seth and Kelsey Morris way? Because I know that they're pretty anti-plastic, and I'd put myself into that camp too, where I don't know. I'm like, heating plastic doesn't sound.
I guess you'd have to
like
sous vide in a silicon Ziploc.
I think they pack a mason jar full and then put the mason jar in.
Seth's been reading up on that taint shrinkage.
Yeah.
He's going to start a podcast called Taint Talk.
It could be. Maybe it's about that, but it's like, I don't know. My reasons are different. I don't care about that, but just like health.
We're going to try to get them sponsored by Tate Cookies. Taint Talk. Brought to you by Tate's.
I have a recipe in my first book where you take a teal and you put it in a pint mason jar with some par cooked beans and sausage and bacon, and then you put it in a water bath and cook it in the jar like that. It's really good.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to go. Yeah. Let me hit you with another one. Yeah, why not? Just set it in a. Put your fat and your meat in a glass jar and set the glass jar down in there.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Then you don't even. Yeah,
you take more fat again,
or use a silicon bag.
You can
silicon
pack
bag.
it in there pretty good.
Let me hit. So you did the guts.
Mm-hmm.
We covered skin.
Mm-hmm.
We covered the guts. We covered the legs. So you just throw the breasts out.
Throw them out. I got a good one. Now on this,
you find Jesse's turkeys, everything's gone, but the breast is laying there.
Not true. That's my birthday meal.
I'm joking.
My birthday is mid-May, and so it is turkey and dewberry cobbler every year. Fried turkey. Along the lines of sous vide, I think that this is how we cook our Thanksgiving turkey breasts.
Wild turkey.
Okay. I put them. We sous vide them.
But like I'm dumb. Like
yeah.
Tell me the whole thing.
So you're going to use what essentially would be poultry seasoning. So you're going to have thyme and oregano, maybe some garlic, maybe some lemon, rosemary, and then most importantly, a little bit of celery.
I have a jar of your poultry seasoning.
There you go. That'll work
dried or fresh? We talking?
Doesn't matter. You can use celery seed, a few celery leaves. Just kind of get that in there. And you can just change up your herbs as you want, and then season your turkey breast as you want it. and then put it in the bag, and then I might
you're
do
not,
that.
You're taking too many shortcuts here. Is this in your book?
It's 100% in there.
Okay, all right, go on. Go the way you're going. I just want to make sure people can get it. But it's in the turkey book. It's in the turkey book.
Yeah,
but still walk us through it.
Yeah, and so
But if you're listening and you're like, what now? It's
take
in the
your turkey
book.
breast, season it with those delicious things, salt,
So you
pepper.
you haven't sliced the turkey breast yet?
No, it's a whole turkey breast.
Got it.
Could be tenderloin on if you want. I usually remove the tenderloins.
Yep.
I've got that whole turkey breast in there, and then seal that up to 3 days before you're going to cook it, and then just let it sit, and then all that seasoning will basically act as a brine. And then I cook that in a water bath at 140 degrees for 3 hours on the nose, and it is phenomenal from end to end. It's perfectly cooked.
And you didn't add any fat in there.
No.
No oil, no butter, no.
Sometimes, and past Thanksgiving or two, I've gone in and taken that, and you can time it. It's like everybody's getting here at 12:30. Like at 9.
Oh, why are they coming at 12:30
That's how they do it.
What do you mean?
at night?
No, p.m. I mean, yeah,
Afternoon,
Thanksgiving,
lunchtime.
Yeah,
for Thanksgiving.
he just picked a random number.
Feels a little early to
He
me.
could count back
early?
3 hours.
Well, anyway,
Is that Central Time?
You would think that'd be one of those things Steve wouldn't have an opinion
I
on.
know.
Oh no, I love all this because I had the same thing. Like I would in the end, I'd be like, well, you're supposed to put a bunch of butter in there, but not necessarily.
You could if you want it, but what I'm getting to is, I have in the past couple Thanksgivings taken it out of the bag and then seared it in a lot of brown butter or just butter, and just one side, and it just got a nice light sear on it. I actually don't want to cook it that much more. Like that 140 on turkey breast, it's so spot on.
3 hours, 140, wild
just
turkey.
super moist, and then just slice it out. Make some turkey stock gravy with giblets and so forth, and then mashed potatoes.
You mean giblets?
Giblets.
You call them giblets?
I guess I do.
What do you call them, Randall?
Call them giblets.
I think that's right. Now that I hear it out loud.
Tinnitus.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday.
What was the word yesterday that we couldn't figure out?
Yeah, and I told my favorite tinnitus story.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that one? We'll never know.
I guess we'll
stay
never
and listen
know.
while we
It's nice to hear a non-cutlet, non-fried turkey breast recipe that you're really high on.
No offense to cutlets and turkey breasts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our fried turkey. I love fried turkey a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you know what? Here, we left one off. Let's say you did so we got the guts, the skin.
mm-hmm.
You said, let's say you pull off the tenders.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, hit me with. So now you've pulled your tenders off.
Uh-huh.
Now hit me with the tenders.
There's a cool visual trick. Actually, this didn't go in the book. I cut it out with a knife, but since now have you ever seen the fork trick? Where you hold, there's that really thick sinew that runs down about half of the tenderloin.
Mm-hmm.
Grip that in your hand and put a fork behind it,
Mm-hmm.
so that the two tines are around that sinew. And
So
then,
it's straddling the sinew.
yes, and then pull your hand back and push the fork forward, and it just pulls that entire seam right out. Like
Why is that not in the book?
Nice.
I came to it after we published that thing pretty quick. I mean,
That's a hot tip, man.
no, it's good. It's really cool.
Huh.
And it gets that seam out of the tenderloin, and then you throw that in your stock. I would grilled tenderloins. You can kind of weave them onto a skewer
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get them more even. I would say that or fried. That's not too creative with that.
Okay, we missing anything? We missing any parts of the turkey that you can't get enough of?
I think you should just walk us very quickly through just like you take those tenderloins, basic turkey nuggets.
Yeah, I brine them, and then brine a little bit of buttermilk so that you get a really good adhesion.
So wet brine.
Yeah, it can be simple. I mean, that's, could just be salt and water. Maybe add pickle juice in there if you like.
Aren't you going to correct them about how it drives you crazy when people say that?
Oh, dry brine? You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're not a fighter, are you?
A little.
He maybe is the kind of guy that
lover.
forgets his pet peeves.
He's
Yeah. That's funny. And then a little bit of buttermilk or yogurt, whatever, just some kind of thick dairy, and then it goes into the seasoned flour, which is going to be most importantly, again, it's going to contain celery seed. Like out of all those spices, I think celery and black pepper are kind of the most important things
For a
in there.
turkey.
For poultry in general. That gives you that KFC. You're like, oh, that's what that was. It's always that celery
What's
seed.
the key to getting it really like that thick, batter on there? Because like I feel like I'm in there and it's all buttermilky, and then do I put them all in my basket first and drop it all at once? Or are you going straight out of that buttermilk and dropping it?
Let them sit in the refrigerator for 20, 30 minutes, hour or two, doesn't matter. You let them sit. Also, as you've got your dredge, your flour, and maybe a little buttermilk, maybe drizzle a little bit so you get these little beads in there. And then what that's going to do, when that adheres, you're not just going to have a thin layer of flour on there, but you're also going to have these little beads of like buttermilky flour. And so it's going to give you a little more of those like crackling textures.
Oh.
Little drizzle of that in there. Bread them up really well, and then just set them in the refrigerator, get them cold in like 20 minutes. And then when that
But what about when it gets kind of doughy? You don't mind that?
No, it's going to be fine.
You don't mind it getting a little doughy?
No, I don't mind.
You know what my kid's been doing? He just makes a god-awful mess the way he does it. But he cuts the turkey breasts and makes a bunch of little tenders. And then he just keeps doing it. Dredge, flour.
Oh.
Dredge, flour. Because he's looking to try to build up like a Long John Silver's later.
I feel like you're going to get some like doughiness on.
Dude. And then he drops them in the deep fryer. And dude, that oil is so full of just all that garbage, man. And
I
then
think one round is
Then he eats it and walks away.
I would go one round on the dredge.
Yeah, he learned it on the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm hungry.
Okay, man. The turkey book, the hog book. What's next?
I don't know. I mean, I say that in all honesty. I'm batting around some ideas, and everybody likes to pontificate on what
what would be
the
obvious?
blank book.
The deer book?
Deer book, right? Yeah, it would be always. I get a lot of requests for aoudad, but I don't think there's a book worth.
I wouldn't be worried about there being with you, you'll find a book worth, but I feel like you might not find the audience.
Right. Yeah. The marketability of that would be more very, very specific.
Dude, I feel like
but if you keep going, like the
Just
way
keep
you're doing it, people are going to be like, I need the series.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Because
Right.
they're beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
like hog, turkey,
Yeah.
deer,
or you could do the fish book.
bowhead
Yeah,
whale.
I like fish a lot.
The bowhead whale book. Yeah. The fish book, you'd probably want like I don't know. I mean, you have a great sense of what to do. Like, hogs in and out. There's a lot of misinformation about hogs. It's a great book. Turkey book, you got a lot of experience. I mean, you have a ton of venison experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of interest. It's America's deer. People are hunting them from top to bottom, side to side. The deer book.
It's true. I will say it's the front runner. But I want to be non-committal in this.
Because you could be cute and be like the squirrel book, but that's just cute.
Yeah.
You're just being cute,
And a little too niche.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd be squirrel, but it's like representative of the rodent book, right?
Mhm.
You do like beavers, muskrats,
The beaver book.
nutria.
About that.
Yep, people would love it. I got something Jesse and I are doing.
Please
Can I
tell
lay
me
it on
about
you?
it.
This will be super fun. Buddy of mine, Eric Johansson, out in South Dakota. He wouldn't like me saying this, but he's kind of like a poster child for it'd be like quote unquote progressive farming practices these days. So real heavy on easements for wetlands and native grasses and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
But which in turn happens to be like really, really good for wildlife. So he's got on the family farm out there, he's got just an unbelievable wild pheasant hunting situation and lodging and stuff. And he's a big believer, as am I, in like the habitat work of Pheasants Forever.
Mhm.
So we and Jesse included here have come together we're going to do a hunt that we're auctioning off at Pheasant Fest this year
That'll
as
be
a
fun.
fundraiser for habitat. And so we're going to
So the fundraise money goes to where?
2 pheasants forever.
And and you're going to hunt this property that is a demonstration of.
A lot of really good practices. Yep. Yeah.
And you two both going to hunt.
Yeah, we're both gonna hunt. Eric's gonna hunt. I'm bringing Snort out there. Eric has one of Snort's cousins too, so that's fun and super cute, obviously. But
how many days does the winner get to hunt?
I think it's 3 days. A hunt for 2 people. Jesse's gonna be leading the cooking, but I've been emphatic about the fact that he's not shackled with cooking. I'm there to help as much as possible, as allowed, so I can learn stuff too. And then, we're gonna hunt, lodging, and you just got to get your butt there. But it is a really, really incredible. I've been lucky enough to go out there and hunt with Eric a couple of times, and he always says, "Your dog's invited. If you would like to come, that's okay."
What's up with the $1,000? I'm seeing a note about a $1,000 gift card.
Yeah, and
is that not related or related?
No, that's related. So then, First Light, we're throwing in a $1,000 gift card. So
to the winners.
Yep. So $500 a piece to get decked out, just to grease the wheels a little bit, and going to be available to help you with getting outfitted in your upland stuff from First Light. So,
well, thanks, guys. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I've already started. We shot a few pheasants this year, and I've already started playing with the menu.
Nice.
I love pheasant.
Yeah,
it's
pheasant
gonna be good.
thighs.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
What about the game bird book?
Could be. I love poultry a lot, so
The
could
game
be.
bird
You
book.
wouldn't just go with bird book?
The bird book.
Yeah. An economy of dialogue.
Yeah.
Big Bird book.
Dude, do the deer book because I want that book.
People are going to be like blowing me up right now. When are you going to write the deer book?
Well, hopefully you have all these names already locked down somewhere. In the
I would cook that
interweb.
book from front to back if you did it.
Yeah, right.
Remember that movie where that gal?
Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like,
Right.
Steve and
I
Jesse.
think-
I do a book
Based
called
on him
Steve
just
and Jesse.
saying, do you know that
Oh my God.
movie?
Steve and Jesse, where I cook all this stuff.
Who
from
are the
Jesse's deer
actors?
book.
Amy
Kevin
Adams and
Bacon.
Meryl Streep.
Kevin Bacon.
Bacon and Paul Giamatti. Bam!
Kevin Bacon and Paul Giamatti, dude.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
Unreal. All right.
Beautiful.
Or I also get the Jackass guy.
Yeah.
Steve-O.
No.
Johnny
That was a
Knoxville.
Yeah. I haven't checked in lately though. I don't know if I'm older than he is, so I'm kind of
No, he's way gray. He's grayed
I
out.
don't know if I'm passing. him
Hard
up or not.
years on those boys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jesse.
Hog book, turkey book, deer book.
Yeah.
Get 2 of
Buy
them
the
now. Are you gonna bundle them?
When the deer book comes out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you should.
The trilogy.
You should maybe. You should maybe do a version where you can just get them in a little box, so like the pair.
Yeah. We're waiting until that third one comes out.
Oh, then you do a box set. Good luck, man.
Thanks.
When you go to Austin, Texas, and everybody eventually finds themselves in Austin, Texas, go to Dai Due. Unbelievable dining experience, man.
Thank you.
Again,
It's unbelievable.
what does Dai Due mean?
It literally means from the two. It's part of an Italian phrase. It means from the two kingdoms of nature. Choose food with care.
Love that.
You know, it's so funny. We took an Uber when we left. Guy's like, "How do you say that?" I'm like, "You should go in and ask the owner."
Yeah.
I was like, "It's Dai Due." Yeah, Dai Due. Unbelievable dining experience.
Thank you.
And not stuffy, man.
No.
Not stuffy.
It's meant to be a neighborhood restaurant.
Yeah. And the waiters and waitresses, they don't act weird. The wait staff doesn't act weird. They don't like whisper and sit with you. Start telling you a bunch of shit you don't want to hear. It's just a great dining experience,
true.
man.
No, they are the backbone of it.
Well, what I have tonight. They don't do all that garbage.
My friends.
Yeah.
It's a delightful little dish.
Well, tonight I have from my friends at the winery. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. They don't do anything. They're just cool. They're cool. They come up and take your order and talk to you.
That's right.
Like you're a person in a restaurant. Not like you're in like an online like call for company 1-800 number or something. Yeah, it is a great restaurant.
Good. Yeah, I like it. I like eating there.
And if you see Jesse eating in there, come up and be like, dude, shouldn't you be working? You lazy ass.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, y'all.